when cows sit down, you know rain is coming. The reason for that is that cows have sensors in their head which can tell that it's going to rain.
From the talk of the town to the whisper of the village.
Count to number 4, please.
Breaking global sports news and the answers to questions you never even thought to ask.
Has anyone got a spoon for my kiwi fruit?
The two mics
Just like in that film.
on Talk Sport.
3 fingers on each hand. Twa, twa, twa. Okay?
3 fingers on each hand.
Yeah. Twa means 3. Twa, twa, twa.
Yeah.
You know? And that'll be...
They'll be shouting it back to you as well. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and it's time to say a very, very good morning to what is almost the end of the week to Mr. Mike and Porky Parry. Very good morning to Mr. Parry.
A very good morning, Mike. It may be the end of the week in terms of the calendar and the lunar calendar that we work on.
Yes.
But it's not the end of the week for me.
No, it's not the end of the week for me either.
Not some Dormer. We never stop, OK? We never sleep, we never stop. Ness and Dormer.
Well, we got the warm-up, of course, tomorrow.
Got the warm-up Saturday.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's only just today, if you see what I mean.
Well,
I still regard...
you regard this as Friday, Thursday?
I kind of Thursday
People
night, I do,
still
really.
have that debate, don't they? They go, you know, when we say things like, you know, we'll be seeing you tonight from 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And some pedants always go, well, it's not tonight, it's tomorrow.
Well, I mean...
And actually, I always think that it's tonight until dawn of tomorrow.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Thursday night for me was always the great night when I worked on, weekly and evening papers, in which you got your pay packet, literally a brown envelope with 30 quid in it or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you went and blew at least 20 quid of it. That's 2/3 of your weekly salary.
Yeah.
Just imagine
So
if
you
we
only had 1/3 of your wages left by the end of Thursday night.
Oh, yeah, and by Saturday lunchtime had gone, I had hardly anything left, like 5 quid, you know what I mean?
Shocking way to manage your money.
That's right, and still hadn't paid the rent. But you regarded Thursday night lasting until about 6 o'clock on Friday morning, and then it became Friday, you see what I mean?
Yes.
You know, you would never say, I got into a bit of a problem Friday morning, you know, when I fell out of a nightclub at 3:30 in the morning without my trousers on or something like that.
No, that's true.
You would say that was Thursday night.
To you, obviously.
Of course not. No, I was just use that as an
No,
example.
I get what you're saying. But because we are speaking of Saturday and the football's sort of starting up with the early game, Manchester United against Bournemouth as a 12:30 kickoff, which could make Manchester United fourth, which would be very exciting.
Exactly.
Basically, it feels as though it's already Friday to me now that we started the show.
Yeah, well, yes, I know exactly what you mean. But the day I'm looking forward to this weekend, of course, is Sunday.
Yes.
I shall be down at the Lane to 1:30 kick-off.
Have you accepted the very generous invitation of our very good friend, Mr. Sims?
Yeah, John Sims, who is a top man, top city lawyer, and a top all-round guy.
He certainly is.
Particularly because he invites me into his top box.
Well, that's not the only reason.
To enjoy a bit of bladderation.
But I think it's the second year that I haven't been able to go with you because I've been away.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Are you sure they're not making the fixtures deliberately so that I can't turn up?
Oh, definitely. No problem with that,
I will, of course, be in New York City.
I can tell you that we didn't suffer in terms of enjoyment of the game with you not being there.
No, but it would have been a bit boring without me, I'd imagine.
It was actually great because your place last year was taken by Alan Mullery. He was in your seat.
Alan Mullery?
That was
a top man as well.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I'm looking forward to that because to wake up on a Sunday morning and think, wow, couple of hours of bladderation ahead of the game. Not mass bladderation in moderation, of course.
What time's the kick-off with Spurs Everton?
1:30.
It's 1:30.
So hospitality starts about 10:30.
So actually, it's quite good that for you because
it's excellent.
When you have a problem is when you've got like a 5:30 kick-off.
Yeah, that's
it means
right.
You've been on the lash for hours.
No, it doesn't. It means that I've been sort of straining at the leash, so to speak.
Straining at the lash. No, it means that
straining
you've
at
got
the
a
lead.
5:30 kick-off, as we had once, I think, in Bournemouth, didn't we?
Well, we did, yeah.
It meant that we had a long day before the game
certainly
actually
had.
started.
We certainly had. We'd enjoyed a bit of hospitality. But
Whereas this way, you'll be sitting there comfortably, relatively sober at 1:30. So
yes,
good.
That's right. And I tell you what, we both do. I do, and you do. We have a charity bet each week, okay, to try and help our individual charities.
Yes.
And I think my charity bet this week is really, really clever.
Yeah.
Because what I've said is, my charity bet is that Harry Kane and Lukaku will score 3 goals between them during the Everton-Spurs game.
Well, it's not exactly putting yourself out there on a limb, is it?
It is, but I haven't specified who will score 2 and who will score 1. You see what I mean?
It doesn't matter.
That's why I think it's so clever.
Well, the thing about Lukaku is that he tends to score either lots and lots of goals or no goals at all. And in fact, I've seen him at White Hart Lane before.
Yes.
And he's been completely and utterly useless.
Well, you've seen him one game there, so, know,
I've seen it twice there.
Have you sure you've seen him twice?
I'm pretty sure I've seen him twice.
Yeah,
there.
well, so 2 games out of the last 4 seasons. Yeah. And you're judging me on that.
Yeah, and he's been hopeless in both.
Rather bland.
No, that's 50% of the games that I've seen, and he's been useless in both.
Incidentally,
I mean, when was the last time Everton beat Spurs at White Hart Lane, for example? I should ask
not
you.
that long ago.
Well, how long ago?
Maybe 6 seasons or something like that.
6 seasons.
But I mean, it's not like 30 or 40 years. We used to regularly go to the Lane and win. But anyway, look, they've got 2 great teams there, 2 great strikers.
And why are we talking about Everton anyway? There's a lot more important stuff.
Well, only because that's what's happening over the weekend.
No, there's loads happening. It's Arsenal playing Liverpool, which is also a live talk sport game.
Yes.
Up at Anfield, right?
Yes.
That is a massive game for Liverpool. Particularly,
massive game for Arsenal.
And but bigger for Liverpool because if Manchester United win, they will leapfrog Liverpool. Well, Manchester United are only playing Bournemouth, right?
Okay, but
so
listen,
I would have to say that there's a pretty good chance that United are going to switch places with Liverpool.
Sure.
No matter what happens.
Sure. Before we talk about all that, I must pay tribute to Tommy Gemmell because I worked with Tommy 3 or 4 times. Yeah. We used to go out on the road in, a few years ago here at TalkSport. We used to go and do fans forums. Oh, yeah. And we did a couple in Glasgow. Uh-huh. And Tommy was on the panel twice. And what a lovely man he is, a man of great nature, you know what I mean, and whose warmth towards his own fans was
people from Glasgow tend to be very endearing, I have to say.
Well, I mean, look, the old fact which people repeat over and over again. So this is nothing novel. All those boys came from within 25 miles of the stadium, Celtic Park.
That's right.
So they were. It was the people's team. It was very much the people's team.
It was a proper team. Of local boys. And most of them had come up through Celtic Boys as well.
Yes, that's right. Celtic Boys Club, and so most of them were just the same as the fans, really, except they had a hoop shirt on, and the fans didn't, and they never forgot that. But I remember one time we were at a forum, and by the way, I got invited to Celtic Park for a couple of Old Firm games when Tommy was chief guest. My mate Tony Kilcoyne had a sort of box there, and he rang me up and he said, Tony's into building houses up in Scotland.
Oh, is he?
And that
How did you get to know this guy?
Well, that's how I got to know him, because I was, we were investing in a bit of property and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I see.
And he rang me up.
Man of the people.
Yeah, and he said, you want to come up for the game? I said, great. Everton weren't playing that weekend for whatever reason. And then he said, come into the box. We've got a couple of guests in here. And sitting there was Tommy Gemmell. I mean, to have Tommy Gemmell in your box at Celtic Park on the day of an Old Firm game means that you had the king there, because he was the man who lifted the European Cup in 1967. Right. And his presence was so.
And also that great goal
consuming.
He scored in the 67 European Cup final will never be forgotten.
Will never be forgotten. That was the equaliser. And then, of course, they went on to win 2-1. He lifted the cup. And then
I know you were poo-pooing my memory of this particular game.
Well,
I remember sitting in the kitchen of my house at the age of 7 with my father listening to it on the radio, which was what you had to do. You've got some tea, by the way.
Yes, I have, thank you.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Did you make me one?
I don't make the tea round here.
Well, did you make that one?
This tea,
you made that one.
This tea came out of the kitchen.
Yeah, you made it.
I can't say anything more.
Well, the last thing I heard was you were saying, I'm going off to make some tea.
No, I don't remember saying that.
And you come back with 1 cup.
Can we stick to Tommy Gemmell, please? Most people remember.
I don't know why you haven't made me a cup of tea.
Most people remember that European Cup final as a grainy black and white production from the Stadium of Light in Lisbon. Okay?
I don't remember watching it live on television.
Well, I do.
I don't think it was live on television.
It was live on television.
Well, why wasn't I watching it?
Well, did you have a television in those days?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Well, your father was a bit of an old nutter, so he might have thought that, we'll get a deeper appreciation of listening to this on the radio than watching it on telly.
Listening to European football on the radio was a tremendous experience.
Was it?
The fact that you work for the radio and are dissing radio seems to me entirely ridiculous.
No, what I'm saying
entirely in keeping with the sort of crap that you would come out with. The point is that we are on the radio, and listening sometimes to football on the radio is a much more fulfilling experience than watching it on TV.
That may well be so. But I remember watching it on a black and white grainy television with all the lines going across the television and seeing Tommy Gemmell strike the equaliser. Lines.
Oh, lines?
Yeah.
Are you sure you don't remember just watching a highlight of it?
No, I saw it live. I saw it live.
Let's face it. Well, I don't know if anybody else saw it live.
Yeah, well,
we'd
love to hear from them.
What channel was it on?
It would have been on the BBC.
So you think BBC One
yes.
carried a live football match that night?
Yes, I do.
Are you sure?
Well, I'm
pretty sure that didn't happen.
It could have been BBC Two, which had just started.
I don't think that happened.
Well, I'm sure it did happen. Now, let me tell you this. Years later, in 2004, we were in Lisbon and in Portugal for the European Championships, the ones in which Wayne Rooney emerged as one of the great young players of the world, okay? And
apparently he's going back to Everton, by the way. Have you seen these stories? We haven't got time to discuss it right now.
I wouldn't even worry about that.
I'm not worried about it.
And anyway, let me just tell you, because so what happened was the two stadiums in Lisboa had both been rebuilt. One of them, of course, was the Stadium of Light.
Yeah.
For the two Lisbon clubs, Sporting and Benfica. And I made a pilgrimage up a hill to a wooded copse.
I'm not interested in stories about you.
Which in the middle...
I'm not interested.
In the middle of was the old Stadium of Light.
There's no time.
Where the European Cup was won by Celtic, which is now like an exhibition ground. It's an old ground.
Okay.
It's amazing to think a European Cup final could have taken place there.
Well, it's not absolutely amazing at all. It's just the way things used to happen in the old days. I'm not going to allow you to turn Tommy Gemmell and the European Cup final.
Well, you never met him, did you? You never met the man.
I don't
you
think
worked
I did.
in Scotland all those years, and you never met Scotland's most famous footballer ever.
I don't think I did meet him. No.
Yeah, I did. You know what you are? You're a flake.
Is that right? Well, I can't tell you what I think you are because the time is short, unfortunately. Here's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham, we're the two Mikes, this is Talk Sport.
The two Mikes, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio. Crazy, awesome. Crazy, awesome. Never stop and they never die, they just keep on pumping how they multiply. Crazy horses will they never halt.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. There is lots going on. Sandra Lee is going to be joining us a little bit later on from down under. Yep. We're going across to Washington, D.C. To find out what the temperature is there, with Donald Trump seeming to become slightly more conciliatory this week when he made his speech to the joint Congress. And
see the stock markets around the world soared.
Well, the stock markets in New York have been going mad ever since he's been in. I mean, they keep making new records every single day.
That's right.
Here's one from Jack, who says, only Mike Parry would slag off listening to football on the radio while talking on the radio.
No, I wasn't slagging off. I was trying to make out
that it was somehow
this sort of hut that your father made you live in as a child.
No, I did not live in a hut. I lived in a very nice flat in Hampstead.
It had no central heating.
One of the most expensive parts of London. Okay?
It had no central heating.
No, it had no central heating. But
no
so
central heating. That's a hut.
So what?
That's a hut.
No, it was a flat in a Victorian mansion, actually.
Some hovel.
Thank you very much indeed. Scottish Bull says, Tommy was a great, great man. Scorer of 2 European Cup final goals, one against Feyenoord in 1970.
Yes.
Porky only had 1/3 of his wages left, just like 1/3 of his heart, says
true.
John. And I think only 1/3 of his brain's working tonight as well.
That's a bit harsh.
Here's one from somebody called Dave, who says, try and keep his shirt on Sunday, Porky, which I think is a very, very good piece of advice, because, of course, we've seen other times when you visited White Hart Lane when you haven't kept your shirt on.
Yeah.
And Glenn says, 30 quid. Even back then, you were grossly overpaid.
Well, I'll tell you what, 30 quid in those days wasn't bad, because the national average wage, I think, was about £22 or something.
Is that right?
But the 30 quid was only when I got
that's what's
to
important to you,
the Evening Chronicle in Newcastle.
As long as you're above what average people are being paid.
Well, the first week's wage on the Chester Chronicle was £21 in a brown envelope. And, I mean, you know, that was... it seemed OK in those days.
You were able to sort of bolster your wages by nefarious deals that you did, and also making sure that you claimed expenses which didn't actually exist.
You couldn't claim much expenses on the weekly paper, but I still worked in the petrol station at weekends, like on a Friday night.
So smuggling red diesel?
Well, I helped with a few sort of deals and that sort of stuff, but I always had much more money than all my mates because they were lazy and they didn't work as hard as me.
No,
so I used to, I used to like doing. I used to like ordering taxis and then swanning to town in a taxi and then pick up a young lady or two at a bus stop on the way. You know what I mean?
Young lady or two?
Yeah. So when I arrived,
what do you mean a young lady or two? Surely you picked up one.
No, Why
would you pick up two?
Well, you'd have two girls waiting at the bus stop. You see, at the bottom of the road where I lived. I knew they'd always be there.
No, but that's not a very good strategy, to be honest.
No, it is. It is because what I would do is I would sit in the back. One of them would sit in the back with me, one would sit in the front.
Yeah.
And then we'd turn up to whichever rendezvous we were going to, and always make sure the taxi driver hooted his horn, as we arrived. You see what I mean? So that all my mates who were inside saw me getting out of this cab with these two chicks.
It's all style with no substance. Here's what John says. Yet again, another story turned into Porky, and the final he was on about was never on TV live. What a complete blank.
No, I saw it.
The 1967 European Cup final was not live on television.
Well, in that case,
because they didn't do it then.
Well, in that case, I've seen it replayed since. Believe me. I've seen it replayed since. I've seen it.
You might have seen the highlights
the whole
of
game.
But it was not. It was never actually broadcast live. Absolutely no chance at all. David says, Porky has lost the plot already. I'm expecting another 0 out of 10 in the Porky quiz.
No, it'll be much more impressive than that because the questions are independently sorted by people who know what they're doing.
The independent quizmasters have stepped down for the week, right?
Yes.
And for next week as well. They're having a little holiday of their own.
Yes.
And so there's a Trivial Pursuit game. But I'll tell you what I'd like to see.
Yes.
I'd like to see the game itself being presented to me so that I can see that it's already sealed, that its seal has not been broken.
Not only is it sealed, it comes in a sealed bag with the game inside sealed from one of the most respected trade names in this country.
What's that?
Waterstones.
Oh, Waterstones.
Yes.
You went to Waterstones.
I got it from Waterstones, yes.
While you were in Waterstones, did you buy any books?
No, but I saw a copy of my book still in the sports section.
You?
Yes.
How much was it on sale for?
For the cover price of $16.99.
Really? Not surprising nobody's bought it then.
No, it was. There's an awful lot of bubbly in Brazil.
Oh, that one?
Still there, yeah.
That's
absolutely.
not by you, though. That's by Alan Brazil.
No, that's by me.
No, it's not.
No.
The book I've seen quite clearly says by Alan Brazil.
No, it says Alan Brazil with Mike Parry.
Mike Parry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
which doesn't mean you wrote it, does it?
I wrote every word of it.
So, but it doesn't say it's by Mike Parry.
You have to remember that
why does it not say it's by?
book,
well, why does it not say it's by you then?
Well, I didn't want to steal glory, but you have to remember, when I wrote that book with Al, Al had a very busy life for the 30 years since he'd left football, and remembering a lot of what was going on was a complicated business.
How about this from Lofty? It says, all style and no substance. MG sums up Mike Parry in a nutshell.
That's
well
very
done.
harsh.
MG, the true man of the people.
That's very harsh.
I don't claim to be the man of the people. I just tell the truth, unlike you.
Yes, OK. It says here, why is Porky being so obnoxious and aggressive tonight? Calling MG's father an old nutter is a step too far.
It certainly is,
even beyond Porky's usual
Luckily,
crassness.
I pay no attention to Porky's insults and the slings and arrows.
But you referred to him as an
old
old nutter.
No, I've never referred to him as that.
Oh, come
I
on.
loved my father very much.
I'm sure you did.
I remember him very fondly,
but
and I never referred to him as an old nutter. Thank you very much.
You revel in stories about his eccentricity.
Yeah, I talk about him being eccentric. That doesn't mean I call him an old nutter.
Well, you know. Now then...
I mean, it's better than your old father who seems to be, also living in the world of cloud cuckoo land.
Right.
He filled you so full of fantasy that you thought he was some kind of war hero.
Yeah, my dad was a war hero.
Well, so he told you.
Well, I've got his
medals. He was anything like
it.
you.
No, I've got his medals. I've still got his medals.
Well, he probably nicked them from somebody else.
No, he didn't. You get those medals awarded to you for gallantry.
Yeah, but he probably stole them.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, I bet he did.
I bet
he stole them from somebody else.
About a war hero. Listen, just to back up my line here we go. A chap here says he's 61. Now, you've just nicked that one. You've just nicked that.
Just nicked one what? What are you talking about?
We've just had a tweet in, and it said, Porky's absolutely right. I'm 61, and I'm certain I watched the Celtic game live on TV.
Well, you may be certain you watched it. It doesn't mean it happened.
Hang on, there's another one here that says, Porky's right. It was live on TV. I watched it in the pub, says Ian. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed.
It was broadcast in pubs. Absolute rubbish.
No.
I don't know who these people are. They've obviously got very, very dodgy memories.
No, I saw it.
Football was not put on in pubs in the 1960s. When did you ever go to a pub in the 1960s and watch it?
No, I didn't go to a pub. I was only
very young
at the time.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
No,
Nobody
it was on BBC, I'm telling
rubbish.
you. Listen, it's a great one here. So Porky's man of the people. These keep jumping all over the place. Will somebody take their finger off the
What are you talking about?
Well,
are you trying to read them off the screen as they come in?
Yeah.
The reason they're jumping all over the place is that when new ones come in, they move.
Yes, I know that. But there's one here which says...
nobody's to blame.
I was the man of the people, and turning up with two young ladies to greet my mates was a great move. Not a problem. Thank you very much indeed. I'm not sure who said that, but whoever did, thank you.
I think the one you're trying to read is from Ryan.
Yes.
Which says, man of the people, like to pick up two women in a taxi and bum to his mates to prove he'd earn more money.
No, it says, and pip to his mates too, to prove he earned more money. Yeah, well, Ryan said that as a compliment.
I don't think he did.
Thank you.
No,
thank you, Ryan.
Absolutely not. Here's one from John who says, maybe we could have a quiz on Everton and see what Porky really knows. Well, we did have a quiz on Everton, and you got 3 out of 10.
Yes, that was because you set the questions. Now, Ryan, you're absolutely right. I'll tell you exactly what he says. Man of the people like to pick up two women in a taxi and pip to his mates to prove. Yeah, I'm reading it again because it's obviously a complimentary one. You didn't let me finish about Tommy Burns. Look, as we speak on one of our monitors in the studio,
Tommy Burns
is that Tommy Gemmell is the famous goal.
I'm not disputing that you didn't see the goal because I've seen the goal as well.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is it wasn't on live.
Yeah, well, I know I saw it live, so I must have had a superior TV to the one you had.
No, I'm sure that makes you feel better.
And some purists are saying, you weave patterns in your head when you listen to radio that you aren't able to weave when you're watching it on TV. Yes, I accept all that.
One of the things that I remember
for
doing...
a living, I paint pictures with words. I know these things.
Yeah, and unfortunately, most of them are abstract.
What?
But one of the things that I remember very well from my young life, at being sort of at the age of 6 or 7 or 8, and maybe even older, was listening to European football matches on the radio.
Right.
And we used to sit in the kitchen.
I used to watch them on telly.
And listen to them on the radio because it was a great way to follow football.
We had a telly before we had a fridge.
Did you?
Yeah. Black and white telly. You remember it in a big cabinet. But we used to put the milk out the back door where it used to freeze like naturally.
You sort of lived a bit like a savage, really, didn't you, up there in North Chester?
No, not at all. Now, Sandra has sent us, just sent us a message. She says, "Good morning, Great Britain. Excited to chat to the two mics in a little while. Hope you're up. Sandra, we're up and ready and waiting.
Of course we're up. We're on the radio.
Yes, that's right. And looking forward to hearing from you within the next couple of hours. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah. It is a highlight of the week.
Andrew says this: the madness has begun. Porky has to be the centre of attention. And that's something that a lot of people say. That you have, of course, turned Tommy Gemmel's world and his life and his death, sadly from an illness yesterday, into stories about you. You know, it's all about how you knew Tommy Gemmell. It's all about how you watched the cup final. It's all about how you were able to get yourself into the centre of, some fan forum where Tommy Gemmell told a story to you.
But I'm paying tribute to Tommy Gemmell because he was a terrific guy.
You're trying to put yourself at the centre of it.
I'm not. I'm trying to give our millions of listeners an account of the Tommy Gemmell I knew, which I think is what you should do when a great man passes away.
Well, here's another view from John. 25 minutes of the programme, and it's just been a self-indulgent Porkmeister loving as usual.
What?
You see, I think you need to row it back.
Who says that?
That's just from John.
Well, John, you don't understand. You don't understand the composition of what we do.
People have started to see through you. See, they've started to see through you as a very insincere, unlikable character who basically puts himself at the centre of every story.
And
that's not what they want.
No, you see, that's just your interpretation of it, honestly.
Well, no, I'm reading out the tweets.
I don't worry about your interpretation of it.
I don't worry about it either.
Quite frankly,
it's not my interpretation.
You have a problem trying to keep up with me, and everybody knows that.
Is that right?
So we'll just pass over on that.
Yeah, we'll pass over on it. Coming up later on, we're going to have the unveiling of the Trivial Pursuit game.
Yeah.
We will unseal it. I will be asking questions from the Trivial Pursuit game. From the 6 different categories, basically.
Yes.
And also, of course, there will be a bonus version, because we're not here next week, of Postman Pork.
That's right.
This is TalkSport.
On DAB, digital radio, and 1089 and 1053 AM.
A terrific performance.
Turn of pace and eye for goal.
Shout about it.
TalkSport.
I'm going slightly mad. I'm going slightly mad. It finally happened. Finally happened. Finally happened. I'm slightly mad.
TalkSport, we are the two mics. Lots to come on the show. Here's one from Craig who says 16 quid for Brazil's book. Still, I paid 2 quid for it in Oxfam.
What?
So he's quite happy.
But that's a second-hand copy. You don't want a second-hand copy. You want the real thing.
Well, very possibly. Greg says, Porky, I would love to see you take on the 60 McNugget Challenge, you bladderating king.
The what, sorry?
The 60 McNugget Challenge, which I presume is, can you eat 60 McNuggets all in one go?
I'm sorry, but I find those disgusting, these challenges. How much food can you eat? How much food can you stuff in? That's for lower life people. It's not for people who are professionals in any business they work in, stuffing food in your mouth. I've never been able to watch that film. Is it Cool Hand Luke again?
Cool Hand Luke.
I saw Paul Newman trying to stuff 50 eggs in his mouth in an hour.
Yes.
Disgusting.
Well, he managed to do it, though, didn't he?
Did he?
Kate says, I was 15 in 1967. I definitely watched the final in black and white with my dad on our Sobel TV.
Thank you very much indeed.
I think it might have been a special sports view on the BBC.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, I saw it.
I think anyone... No, I think lots of people have seen it. There's no doubt that there is footage.
Saw it live that night.
There's definitely
footage
footage of the game.
I was riveted because...
But I really don't think it was actually on live.
I didn't quite understand even where Glasgow was. I was...
I'm not surprised. You weren't a very bright child, were you?
No.
I mean, you don't even know where Glasgow is now.
Well, I get on an aeroplane and it's there when I get off. That's most places, isn't it?
Unless they've cancelled the plane, in which case you get a train.
How many places have you been to when you didn't actually know where you were going? Because I remember once you went to a football game in Moldova. Is it Moldova?
Moldova, yeah.
Nobody on the plane.
It was an England game.
It was an England game,
Yeah.
and nobody on the plane knew where we were going. I mean, this is the truth. You get on the plane, right?
Well, you should know where you're going.
No, you get on the plane and you don't care where you're going. And you get on the plane, it takes off, and then we're all looking at each other and say, which direction are we flying in?
Yeah.
Nobody kind of knew.
But were you not the press officer of the FA in those days?
No, I wasn't in
Shouldn't
those
you be able
days.
to tell them exactly where you were going?
No, I always worked that out. The one time I had a problem was when I was working for the Football Association in my role as head of communications. We flew to Latvia, and I have to admit, I did have to sort of, scramble my brains to explain to people where we were going in mid-flight when they asked me.
Now, here's a very interesting piece of information which has been passed to me by one of our Twitter followers called Daniel. And it is, in fact, the TV listings for the 1966-67 European Cup final, Thursday, 25th of May.
Yes.
And it says... Scottish and Grampians showed the match live from 5:25 to 7:10 with a break for the news.
Right.
The game was not shown by other ITV regions, but viewers could watch it live on BBC One from 5:20 to 7:30, also with a break for the news and with Ken Wilson-Home commentating.
Well, I told you.
Milan took an early lead with a penalty. We know about all that. Gebel equalised on 62 minutes. Chalmers netted a late winner for Celtic on 85.
See, I told
according
you.
to that, it was on the BBC.
Thank you very much indeed. So why weren't you watching it on the telly?
I don't remember watching it. Maybe I was just too young to remember it.
Maybe
I'm
you
pretty
were.
sure we listened to it on the wireless.
Maybe you were, but I definitely saw it, and that's been justified now by a load of listeners who've backed me up, and you finally caved in and got
you see, again...
But you looked at the facts. You have to look at the facts.
Well, I needed the facts, because so much of what you say is complete and utter untruth that I could never believe anything you tell me.
Well, you've just been telling everybody for the last 36 minutes it wasn't on TV, so
I don't
you
think
couldn't
it was
have
on
seen
TV.
it. And now when I asked you to examine the facts, you find it was.
Yeah, well, but now that I've found the facts, I'm more than happy to say, yes, it must have been on TV, but I don't remember watching it on TV because I was much younger than you, because you're much older than me, and therefore I don't have a recollection of it, and I'm pretty sure we listened to it on the radio. Maybe my mother decided that she didn't want us to watch it on television because she had something else to watch.
Perhaps you were a dumb child.
No, I was never a dumb child, actually.
I think you probably were.
But, let's not turn it into a competition. I don't try and, win things against you. You're the one that tries to win things against me.
No, I don't.
I'm more than happy for you to be right. It's so rare that I will, in fact, salute you for being correct.
Thank you very much indeed.
This will be the first time you've got something right this year.
Thank you very much indeed.
And it's already March.
We have a bit of a Scottish flavour to the show tonight. Do you know why?
Why?
I have discovered through my contacts in the world of business that Aen Brew, which of course is the national drink of Scotland, isn't it?
It certainly
Is in fact changing its secret recipe for the first time in its history.
Really?
Yes, and do you know why?
Why is it?
To cut back on sugar levels. They've decided it's time.
Do they not do a sugar-free version then, like everybody else does?
No, they do one version, and they're going to sort of reboot the recipe. Now, I've got some fantastic facts here. Only 3 people in the world know the secret Iron Brew recipe. Okay?
Well, in fact, I've told you this before, that the Iron Brew was refused a licence to sell its product in America because the FDA asked them for the recipe in order to give them a licence.
Yeah, I see.
And they refused to tell them what the recipe was. And they said, no, it's a secret.
Right, it's a secret, yeah. Now, I'll tell you why they might have done that. Iron Brew is made in vats which contain 8,000 litres of fluid, okay?
8,000 litres?
8,000 litres, okay?
I can't imagine how big that is.
Hang on.
That's quite big, isn't it?
It's very big. And within the 8,000 litres, the men who put it together pour in 32 different ingredients into the vats.
Right.
How about that?
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Eh?
Nobody's ever been able to establish precisely what Iron Brew is actually made up of.
Well, that's right, yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of it, actually. Have you ever drunk it?
Yeah, I like it. I love it.
You like Iron Brew?
I buy it in plastic bottles in Morrison's in litre form.
You never told me you buy Iron Brew.
I do.
You've always told me that your soft drink of choice is orange squash.
Oh, not at all. Today I bought a 1 litre bottle of Dandelion and Burdock and a 1 litre bottle of Iron Brew.
Oh, right.
And they're both in my fridge at home.
Okay.
I drink it all the time.
Well, you've never mentioned this. You've never said that you drink Iron Brew.
I got another parking ticket today.
Did you?
Yeah.
Where?
And guess what? You won't believe this. This is. I wasn't going to tell you
Not
this.
from the same guy that was in tears the other day.
The same guy.
He gave you another ticket?
Yeah.
Did he give you more crocodile tears?
No, but
this
you know-
guy's clearly a charlatan.
Do you know what? He stitched me up really badly.
Yeah, he doesn't like you, does he?
No, he stitched me up really badly.
Yes.
I parked, right, I had to go to Sutton again, right? This
Oh,
is
so
where
you're
this
back
guy
in
works.
Sutton?
Well, the reason
How
is...
unusual.
The reason is I had to actually... I had to go
Why don't you just go and do your shopping where you live?
No, I had to go to my surgery, okay?
Surgery?
Yes, because I had
Well,
to...
the psychiatrist.
No, you idiot. I had to get a variation on my prescription to keep me alive, my heart tablets, okay?
Keep you alive?
Yeah, no.
Rubbish.
Sorry, what are you mocking for?
Well, because I don't
What are you
believe
mocking
a word of all this cobblers, right?
I mean, I've brought in the tablets and showed
Yeah.
you them.
Well, that
You know, I
doesn't mean
had
anything.
to because you were so
Doesn't mean
dismissive
anything.
of the,
First of all,
the edge upon which I live.
First of all, I'm expected to believe that you were on the heart transplant waiting list.
I was.
Right, and then taken off it.
I took myself off it.
Yeah, nobody's ever taken themselves off that.
Except me and
Yeah,
survived.
right.
Me.
Which
me,
means you
medical
couldn't have
miracle.
needed one in the first place, right?
I did need one.
Well, nobody that has ever been in the history of heart medicine has taken themselves off the heart. You know, there is no doctor in the history of hearts who has said, "Oh, this person who was on the heart transplant list needed a heart. Don't worry, he's fine now."
I've told you I'm medical miracle.
His heart's repaired itself.
I've been to conferences and spoken to people
Well,
about
you
it.
tell me that, but I've no evidence of that either.
Well, I don't care whether you got evidence or not. Anyway, the point is,
Yes.
So
so you went to see the doctor.
I went to the surgery to get a variation on my prescription.
Variation?
Okay? Trying to cut down on the tablets.
Yeah,
okay?
good idea.
So anyway, I park in a bay there, right?
Well, outside the doctor's?
Near to the doctor's.
Hasn't the doctor got a car park?
Well, you're not allowed to use it unless you're like a doctor, if you see what I mean. You know
Well,
what I mean?
I'm sure you could put a white coat on and pretend you're one just to get a parking spot.
I'll just ignore that. Another piece
You
of
did it to
stupidity.
interview Peter Sellers.
Well, I did.
I'm not like I want you to tell that story.
No, I won't tell the story because he was dead, but I didn't realise. He didn't look dead.
No.
No, he didn't.
How can you not look dead?
Well, he had like all sorts of pipes and masks and things, so it's difficult to tell.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's a bit like looking at you. You don't really look alive, but apparently you are.
There's something wrong with you tonight.
There's nothing wrong with me, no.
You've been on the old. You've been on the grog today.
I had a couple of drinks earlier.
Oh,
yeah.
you did? Oh,
Yeah.
right.
I took my daughter out for dinner.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
That
always your cover.
That was at 4 o'clock.
It's always your cover, isn't it? You know, I wasn't really drinking. I took my daughter out for dinner.
I took my daughter out for dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
just
the
to fill
truth.
your face with
The difference between you and I is I actually tell the truth, and you don't.
Yeah, listen.
It's simple.
Anyway, so I park in this bay, right?
And I mean, how much of this story is going to be true? We'll never know.
No, hang on. I park in this bay.
See the time.
And I see the guy, you know, and I thought, oh, that's the guy from the other day. It's his patch.
Was he
so
still
to speak.
weeping?
Well, no, he wasn't weeping, but I mean, I could have been weeping later. So anyway, I get out of my car and I go and put money in a machine to get a ticket, and I put it on my dashboard,
Yes.
okay? And I actually waved at this guy. I waved at him, right?
Oh, yeah. To go,
You know,
hello, mate, how are you?
no, just, you know, and
Yeah.
ticket and all that. I go into the I was only there for about 20 minutes,
And
right?
how much time did you put on the ticket?
1 hour.
An hour, okay.
Yeah. I come out, and you won't believe it, there is a parking ticket
Right.
underneath my windscreen wiper.
Then he come back and go, yeah, if I were you, I'd appeal that, like he did the other day.
No. And do you know why? Because the bay
Why?
I'd parked in was a residence
Ah,
only
you see,
permit.
that's tricky, that.
Yeah, but hang on. He saw me putting my ticket in.
Yeah.
If he was a decent chap, because yesterday I thought
He's
he was
not
a decent chap
he's a
for
traffic
crying.
warden.
Now I believe him to be a damned ignoramus.
Yeah.
He should have come to me and said, don't put money in that's a permanent...
Well, one of the problems,
that's
right?
a residence permit.
One of the problems is that they have sometimes these shared bays, don't they? And,
Yeah.
and one half of the bay is residents, another half is residents
I can't believe it.
and visitors. So
I
how
can't
much are you
believe
going to pay?
Well, this is the other thing. When the other day I got one, I thought I couldn't care less because I realised that if you pay within 28 days, it's half of
It's
what
half,
the fee is.
yeah.
So I thought it'd be about 30 quid.
Yeah.
Do you know what the full amount is now?
What is it?
£110.
Really?
Yeah.
So you've got to pay 55.
I've got to pay 255s.
Why?
Because I got the one the other day, didn't I? I haven't had a parking ticket for
That's
years, and now
brilliant.
I've been massacred with parking
This guy
tickets.
is clearly stalking
Yeah,
you.
he is.
If you see him again, I would
Yeah.
move on.
I'm gonna
Don't
knock
park
his
anywhere
hat
near
off.
him.
I'll knock his
well,
hat
no,
off.
you can't do that. That would
Yeah.
be unwise.
It would be.
Jason says Porky's ability to lie and swerve questions is incredible. Has he considered replacing Jeremy Corbyn?
Listen,
Well, talk about a man who needs a transplant of some kind. He needs a transplant of popularity.
Listen, getting back to I'm Brew just very quickly.
We haven't got any time.
A higher rate for those with more than 8 grams per 100 millilitres in tax has led to a revision of the recipe.
Right. Oh, okay. And also, somebody sent in a picture of the sugar-free version.
Oh, yes.
And Ian says, Porky's raw again, #plank.
Oh, no.
This
I
is
was
Talk
aware of
Sport.
that.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
I don't know whether it would be considered to be churlish at this moment, but I think it's a good time to mention that, by the way,
yes,
you and I have been nominated for an award for our coverage of the American election.
We have.
By IRN News.
We have.
We'll find out a bit later on this month whether we've won it or
That's
not.
That's right.
For Talk Radio, because, of course, we were simulcasting Talk Sport and Talk Radio that night.
We certainly were.
It was quite a night. It was a fantastic night, an historic night. Ever since then, of course, Donald Trump was inaugurated back in January.
Yes.
His first month was what can only be described as chaotic.
Yes.
And was punctuated by several massive problems, including the resignation of his national security advisor. We're going to talk now to Gabby Morangello, reporter for the DC Examiner, to find out whether the second month is going any better. Gabby, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Not at all.
Hi, Gabby. Great to have you on the show.
Now,
Thank you.
The speech that Mr. Trump made earlier on this week to the two joint houses of Congress seems to have been seen as a bit of a kind of a conciliation, really, by him, and something of a rowing back from some of the positions he's been adopting. Is that how it's being seen in Washington?
Well, it's not necessarily being seen as him retreating on the key policies that he put forward on the campaign trail, but it has been well received both by Democrats and Republicans. This is really a moment where he showed that he can behave presidentially and, extend an olive branch to his political opponents and to those who have spent months since the election criticizing his every move.
Right. And is this him realising that in order to make things happen sort of inside the Beltway, he has to play the game? Or is it a bit more serious than that and he's working out that he cannot be the Donald Trump from the television? He has to be, a bit more like somebody who actually occupies the Oval Office?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, he realizes that he only has a certain amount of political capital that he'll be able to use to push through some of the more controversial proposals that he espoused on the campaign trail. Things like, the immigration that he wants to pursue and the Obamacare repeal and replace plan. So it was a little bit of him reaching out to Democrats across the aisle and saying that I want to work with you, and there are some areas where I'm willing to compromise, whether that's on a comprehensive immigration reform bill or an infrastructure spending. And it was also him showing that he's capable of acting like, the commander-in-chief, that
right.
he can put on a true show. He is an entertainer, so I think it's important to remember that, he is somebody who's been acting. He's been in reality TV for years, and it wasn't, as much as a shock it was to see him behave the way he did during his first speech to a joint session of Congress. I don't think it's necessarily an indication that that's how he's going to continue to behave going forward.
Gabby, isn't the problem that if he continues to go this way, then he has actually lost the reason why millions of people voted for him, and that is to repel, the status quo, to repel the politicisation of the whole world, and to get in there as Donald Trump and do it his way. That's why people voted for him, to get rid of political correctness. If he now starts appearing to be presidential in the way that presidents are supposed to speak, the joint session of Congress on Wednesday saw what they thought was a man moving more towards presidential type attitudes. Hasn't he lost the very reason for being Donald Trump?
Well, this is a question that came up time and time again during the campaign. I mean, if you remember back in July of 2015, right after he had entered the race, he would criticize his opponents routinely for using teleprompters on stage and for relying on prepared remarks. And then, 6 to 8 months later, he got out on the campaign trail, and instead of delivering one of his freewheeling campaign rallies, he stuck to a set of prepared remarks and had a teleprompter on stage. And at that time, everybody asked themselves, is this the moment where he's going to start hemorrhaging his support? Is he going to lose the very people who were drawn to him in the first place because he was so unorthodox and so willing to say whatever was on his mind?
Yeah.
And obviously, the election results taught us that wasn't the case. And so I don't think, as long as he pursues the policy agenda that he promised and continues to deliver on what he said he would, I don't think that his supporters are going to take issue with him when just seeing just seeing him behave a little bit more presidential.
Yeah.
And has it been surprising to you, Gabby, how sort of the Republican Party has kind of warmed to him, as it were? Because before he was elected, the Republicans were not exactly in a grand sense on his side, but they seem to be kind of shuffling in behind him now and going, well, he's our president, so we must support him.
Yeah, it has been interesting to see the dynamic between him and House Speaker Paul Ryan and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell kind of change. I mean, he and Paul Ryan certainly had some contentious moments during the election and also during the transition operation. And now they seem to have a very warm and working relationship. So it's been interesting to see that. But I think what's even more surprising is to see, ultra-conservative members of Congress coming around to some of the big government policies and proposals that this president is putting forward. There are members of the House Freedom Caucus who would typically oppose a massive economic stimulus package who are now saying that they're at least open to the thought of working on a $1 trillion infrastructure plan, which is what he had put forward on the trail and again mentioned during his speech on Tuesday. So I think it's really interesting to see what's happening there and whether his administration is headed for a clash with ultra-conservative members of Congress who eventually are going to come to a point where they can't necessarily support some of these broader federal spending packages and big government reforms.
I get the feeling, Gabby, that another reason why President Trump is becoming more presidential is once, the new president slaps on the old baseball cap on board an aircraft carrier, I think today it was the Gerald R. Ford, and starts really imagining himself as the commander-in-chief of the biggest group of armed forces in the world, they do become very presidential. Exactly the same thing happened to Bill Clinton the first time he met the military.
Yeah, I think that there's a very sobering moment in those visits with, the men and women who put their lives on the line to protect this country.
Exactly.
It seems to be a theme that we've really seen both in his visit today in Newport News, Virginia, and also just a few weeks ago when he was visiting U.S. Central Command down in Tampa, Florida. He spoke at the Air Force Base there, and it was a moment, of course, similar to today and similar to his speech Tuesday night where he was very presidential.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do agree with you there. I think that it's definitely something that puts into perspective for him the tremendous amount of responsibility he has and the fact that there are literally lives in his hands that he will have to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
I totally agree with you. When he's got, a $10,000 suit on and he's just the same bloke he was when he's pulling off a business deal in Trump Towers, then that's one aspect of being President of the United States. But it's always that baseball cap that worries me about the size
and
of
the old bomber jacket.
Exactly, the old bomber jacket, which says Commander-in-Chief in the baseball cap, and they change overnight. And I remember when Bill Clinton was there, he started using all sorts of military expressions. How are those grapes on the roof? Those are the guys who fuel the planes and all that kind of stuff, And that's the minute they become presidential.
And what about, Gabby, what's going on sort of inside the White House? Because we've got another story tonight about the U.S. Attorney General saying he's not going to take part in any investigation into Russian interference, which doesn't go away, right? Jeff Sessions is the latest kind of victim of all of this. He's already lost one national security advisor. And what about the influence inside the White House of some of the people that have been described as the alt-right types? How is that all going?
Well, I think that there's been a lot of reporting on the relationship between the president and this close circle that he has of, about 4 key advisors. Steve Bannon, as you mentioned, is seen as one of those alt-right figures. Yeah. Reince Priebus, his chief of staff, is a bit more establishment-friendly. And then you have Stephen Miller, his speechwriter, and Kellyanne Conway, of course. And between the 4 of them, so far, I think that they've been able to reach a balance and to kind of have harmony in the way that they're working together on a day-to-day basis. But again, there might come a point where when you have a chief strategist who's constantly competing for the president's attention against the president's own chief of staff, and you don't really have this valid chain of command in the White House, it could lead to problems down the road. And we may have already seen glimpses of that here and there.
Okay. And how about the way that you're feeling as a member of the press? Because, of course, he spends an awful lot of time, though he didn't do it the other night, castigating members of the press as the enemies of the people, variously, or perhaps the purveyors of fake news. How are you getting treated?
I've been treated well. I don't have any complaints right now, but I do hope that the relationship right now between the White House press corps and the administration does improve, because I know I've been fortunate in the way I've been treated. But
so when they banned lots of other journalists, did you not all think, well, we should all just walk out?
There was some talk of that, but then there are also reporters who say, look, I have a job to do, and it's a contentious topic in the White House press corps right now, how to handle an administration that seems keen on shutting out some outlets and making sure that there's a change in who gets what and how much access to information and resources certain media outlets have.
Absolutely right. Listen, Gabby, thank you very much indeed. A difficult job to cover Donald Trump, but he does seem to be becoming more like every other president, which is going to upset some of his supporters, of course, as well. That's Gabby Morangello, reporter for the DC Examiner.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. Don't forget to go to our website, thetwomics.co.uk, where you can find a whole panoply of interesting things, including some recipes of yours, some recipes of mine. A lot of people are trying out my chicken curry recipe, actually, which is very, very good.
I saw one person who had,
No, there's been quite a few people who say it's absolutely delicious.
Really?
So you've got to try it. You've got to do it. Here's one from Rico, I think it is, who says, just a quick fact, my hometown of Corby in Northamptonshire is the biggest seller of iron brew outside of Scotland.
Is it?
It is a great drink. Well, Corby, of course, famously...
it's very Scottish.
It's very Scottish.
Yeah.
You know why?
Because everybody emigrated from Scotland to Corby.
Yeah, but why, though?
Because there was an iron ore works there, wasn't there?
Steelworks, yes.
Steelworks, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
British Steel, as it used to be,
that's right.
had a massive plant there.
Yeah.
It's also the home, of course, of the Corby Trouser Press.
Corby Trouser Press, absolutely
which
right.
Which is not at all Scottish.
That's right.
Have you ever used one of those?
I don't use trouser presses.
Don't you?
Unless they're my own in my house, and I don't need to because I've got somebody who presses my trousers for me.
Really?
But the idea of
Were they off the other night, then, when you came in to show us off your new shoes? Because people were complaining that not only were your new shoes hideous looking, but your trousers were a complete and utter disgrace.
No, they weren't.
Because they weren't properly pressed.
No, my trousers are always properly pressed. You're the guy who comes in with trousers look as though they've been wrung out.
Yeah, but you see, I have a sort of a slightly different view of working on the radio.
Yeah,
right?
You can't work out how to get your trousers washed and cleaned and pressed.
No, when we go out to places like Wembley or the XL, or indeed Crystal Palace, or possibly West Ham, which will be later on this season, I wear a very nice suit.
Yeah. You seem to wear the same suit every time we go out now.
I have three
down
suits.
To one?
No, I have three suits which are identical.
Oh, really?
Grey suits.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one before.
Have
yeah,
you?
Oh, yeah.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
You don't wear a suit at all, though, so I'm worried whether you don't actually have one. Because all you do is wear the same old tramp's trousers and the Mothercare shoes
that's not
and
true.
a hideous shirt. Well, the pictures are there for all to see.
You've seen me in my collection of black suits. I've got about half a dozen black suits. I don't
why
wear
don't you
them
wear one of them when we go out and actually represent Talk Sport in an open venue?
I have done many times.
Well, not in any of the things we've done together.
With my £150 black loafers, leather loafers, which I wear with my suit.
You think £150 is a lot of money for a pair of shoes?
Well, consider I only wear them 6 times a year. Now, listen, I've had a note here from one guy who said, you haven't mentioned I'm Brew's most famous drinker. I didn't know about him, actually. But anyway, apparently his name is David Lang, L-A-I-N-G, who is a Scotsman. Yeah. He drinks 3 litres of Iron Brew a day.
That can't be good.
And has been told to cut down because that could do more damage to your liver than drinking 3 litres of whiskey a day.
That can't be a good idea, can it?
And it says a guy's so keen on it, he's famous in Scotland for having had a complete can of Iron Brew tattooed on his leg during during a procedure which took a week.
Well, I'm sure that's lovely for him, but that doesn't sound like drinking that amount of any kind of soft drink or any hard liquor would be very good for you.
I would agree.
Here's a text that I've got here from somebody who doesn't give a name. Oh, no, it's Laurie the Hammer, sorry.
Yes.
MG, should Porky have a bit of a triumph on the quiz tonight? You may consider that he purchased 2 boxes of Trivial Pursuit. One he opened and studied, and the other he handed to you still sealed.
Yeah.
Would he really be that devious?
Yeah.
Well, Laurie, I'm completely confident that even if he did manage to be that devious, his short-term memory is such that he wouldn't remember any of the questions and answers that he'd studied.
So don't worry about it. I think that's very harsh. Listen, I tell you who keeps popping up all the time. time.
Yeah.
Particularly now as the Queen, has reached another milestone. She's 90 and all that kind of stuff. That little creep, Paul Burrell.
Creep?
Yeah. Did you ever come across it?
Well, funnily enough, the Mirror bought him up.
Right.
As the butler of Diana.
Yes.
And...
was that after the court case in which he got off and then, went round telling everybody, the lady came up for me, the lady. Yeah. He reckons that the Queen intervened in the whole legal process to say, no, he didn't misappropriate any possessions owned by previous members of the royal family. He was quite entitled to have them in his possession.
Well, the great story about him was that, as you know, whenever this sort of thing happens, you have to sort of take him out of the way so that nobody else can get anything out of him, because people, inevitably, if some journalist turns up on the doorstep, they'll speak to them, right?
That's right.
And so they had to get him out of the way of his place. He lived up somewhere not far from Chester, I think.
He has a flower shop
Wales, right?
in a village called Farndon.
That's right.
Which is just outside Chester.
Yeah.
And, apparently that was the basis of his business life. But he was never there because he was always flying off to America and appearing on shows, pretending to be an expert on the royal family.
But before that happened, he was brought up by the Mirror.
Yes.
And one of the Mirror reporters was sort of, assigned to him. Yeah. And so they took him off to a safe house in Dublin, right? But the problem was he had this rather unfortunate predilection for gay bars in Dublin, right?
That's right.
And despite the fact that his marriage was going, not particularly well. Unfortunately, I used to talk to this guy who was minding him, right? And he said the problem is every night he's literally over the wall.
That's right.
He sort of somehow managed to escape from my grasp. And I have to go and find him in the sort of the flesh pots of Dublin and drag him back.
I know it was quite amazing. I mean, he was the guy who told the world, that. Diana used to call me her rock.
Yes.
And then, over the years it emerged that actually Diana used to find him an absolute blinking nuisance.
Another word that ended in O-C-K that she wanted to call him.
Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't quite rock.
The allegations were that, perhaps he wasn't quite the rock.
And also he then kind of got so carried away that he was one of these guys where if he said one thing and you kind of looked at him and said, well, that's not very good, then he'd say something even more outlandish. Because did he not say that she told me that I was in grave danger? And she told me that, she was worried that she was going to be assassinated and all this comments.
On one occasion, he appeared as the star witness in some court case, which was a libel case. Somebody was suing somebody else. Right. And he was called as a star expert witness and said something in the witness box which turned out to be completely erroneous and completely, turned the case on its head. But the reason I mention it is because there's and do you remember the other occasion in which he was allegedly, what you just said about those gay bars and things, and it's very publicly known, isn't it? That
I don't think it's a secret.
No, exactly. Wasn't it one time supposed to have been having a sort of relationship or seeking a relationship with a former very famous comedian who appeared on television a lot?
I think that is possible. I don't remember that precisely. But there was also the time where I think the Mail hired him to be like an etiquette expert.
That's right.
Which also turned out to be a lot of old cobblers as well, because everybody said, well, we don't really like this guy because he's basically betrayed Princess Diana fans were not fans of his because he should have kept stum. And then he shouldn't have said anything.
I think he then went on to all these sort of shopping channels selling a load of old royal tat, didn't he?
A load of old tat, which to Americans going, oh, really? There's that from Princess Diana's house?
Yeah, that's right, made of
Funnily enough, today,
chalk.
I had an American tourist come up to me. I was outside, I was in Borough Market, as I tend to be.
Right,
in this very nice Spanish tapas bar.
Yes.
And I was outside talking to somebody on the phone.
Yeah.
And this American sort of woman of a certain age came up to me and said, excuse me, could you tell me where some such a theatre is, right? And I said, no, I don't know. I said, I've never heard of that. I said, what street is it on?
Yeah.
And she went, Southwark. And I said, oh, do you mean Southwark Street?
Yeah.
Southwark. And she wouldn't accept that it was called Southwark. She kept saying Southwark.
Well,
and I'm like, well, it sounds like, it looks like that, but it's actually Southwark Street.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And I told her to go down back there sort of in the
That's
opposite
right.
direction. I've no idea whether...
I didn't know there was a theatre on Southwark Street, to be honest.
She said it's where the old London Bridge car park is.
London Bridge car park.
And I said, well, there used to be a car park down over there.
That's right,
so I sent her that way. But,
Yeah. Maybe she'd just come down from Edinburgh.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, very possibly.
But anyway, the reason for this is
Mary
because...
LeBone.
Yeah, Mary LeBone. Is being the resident TalkSport TV reviewer, I'm aware of the fact there's a Channel 5 documentary coming up, so that will have been made by our mate.
What? You mean Ben?
Ben,
Yeah,
Yeah, Ben.
Top man.
Top man, the program director of Channel 5, yeah, who was so distracted when we saw him because he was having a £6,000 tooth implant.
That's right.
And he just made a failed programme with some TV star that he said was going to bankrupt the station.
A very big TV star, actually.
Exactly.
Quite big in radio as well.
Well, he's made inroads into radio.
Yeah.
But anyway, in this Channel 5 documentary, he talks about the time he was at Windsor Castle. This is all to do with the imminent visit of President Donald Trump to this country.
Right.
And he tells the documentary that when Ronald Reagan visited in 1982, squads of Secret Servicemen descended on Windsor Castle to find out if it was safe to to bring the president here. And I peeked out of the Oak Room window in Windsor Castle, and I said to Her Majesty, have they come to check out the castle to make sure it's safe for the president? Can you believe the cheek of the Americans?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't quite know.
I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah,
that's their job.
Exactly.
What's it got to do with him?
Apparently, he's saying that the Queen was very upset that she couldn't believe that Windsor Castle wasn't deemed safe enough for the president of the United States.
See, that's probably more rubbish from him.
Yeah,
Why
probably.
would the Queen be outraged? I mean, she knows perfectly well what happens when a Secret Service detail comes in.
The one that got me is, he wrote the original book, when Paul Burrell, the Royal Insider and all that.
Yeah.
And,
And he wasn't.
No, I know he wasn't. No, but you know the way that people always talk about how their life started and it came from small acorns, to huge oak trees and all that. He said the reason why he got into royal service is, I found it so amusing. He said that, when he was about 6 or something, his mother took him to London on a sightseeing tour and they got to Buckingham Palace and he saw the changing of the guard. He said, but behind the changing of the guard, he saw all these royal skivvies running around with pans and things, and
well, that's another lie because you don't see that.
Yeah, and basically brushing up on all that.
Yeah.
And then he made this dramatic statement. He said, and I determined to myself at that moment, one of these days, I was going to be one of those royal skivvies. He's got an ambition to become like a servant.
Yes, I know.
Yes,
I'm a complete charlatan, I have to say.
Yeah.
With due regard to process and all the rest of it.
Exactly.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes.
The Two Mikes. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
In the head when he was 25. Speed jive, don't want to stay alive when you're 25. And when you're stealing clothes from Marks and Sparks, and Freddy's got spots from ripping up the stars from his face. Funky little.
Now, I'm very delighted to say that you've got a little bit of praise here, which is unusual.
Oh, yes.
So I'm going to read it out.
Yes.
It's from Jerry, who's in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
And he says, thanks, Porky, for the heads up about Peaky Blinders. I've watched all 3 series twice on Netflix.
Yeah.
It is brilliant.
It is brilliant. I totally agree.
How about that?
And funny enough, I've never deleted the episodes of Peaky Blinders from the 3rd series, but I've got the box sets of the first 2.
Have you?
And when I get a bit of a moment, I'm going to watch the whole thing through.
Okay.
A week's holiday for me would honestly be to satiate myself with Peaky Blinders and all those other great programmes I've missed.
Well, good. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I will. Now, that was a bit of Mott the Hoople,
Mott
right?
the Hoople, All Young Dudes.
Do you like them?
It's a great song.
That's right, yeah.
They were, I would say, one of those bands that I didn't like everything they did, but I liked Roll Away the Stone. I liked All the Young Dudes.
Got to roll away
you have to
the
sing
stone.
It. And All the Young Dudes, of course, written by David Bowie and given to Mott the Hoople, given to Ian Hunter to make a big hit of. And they were of their time, rather good.
Now, hang on, it was All the Young Dudes, Roll Away the Stone.
Yeah.
What was the third one? They had a third great
hit.
There
was another hit, yeah.
And I remember I was working up in Newcastle at the time and thought it was great. Roll Away the Stone. Anyway, I'll come to it. Anyway, the reason we're playing that is that they had a bass player, a guy called Peter Overend Watts, okay?
Overend Watts?
Peter
like double-barrelled?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. His middle name was Overend, Overend Watts.
Okay.
He had a strange name because his father was a university lecturer in Birmingham.
Okay.
So he's brought up in the sort of world of academica, but broke out of that. Now
all the way from Memphis, is that the other one you're thinking of?
Maybe.
That's their other third hit, really.
Maybe, yeah.
I can remember that one.
I'm just trying to think... Anyway, the point of the story is he was the guy, right, in the 70s who is credited with inventing the look of the stacked heels, the flared trousers, and the long hair.
Right.
He invented this look.
But they all had that look, didn't they?
Well, no, he was the one. He was the one who he sported a pair of outlandish thigh-high platform boots, and with his haystack of silver-sprayed hair, made him the epitome of the outrageous 1970s glam rocker, and is now credited as being the man who invented glam rock, okay?
Right.
And he sadly died because, people do.
Well, all these guys are getting to that age, aren't they?
Well, he's 69. It's not that old, so...
It's not, but, I mean, all of these guys who were massively big in the 70s are what you would describe as coming to sort of the end of their tether, aren't they?
That's right. He very sadly died of throat cancer, which a lot of people seem to be suffering from these days.
Yeah.
And do you know what that could be? That could be anything about smoking drugs in the 60s.
And drinking and all
drinking,
that.
All that kind of stuff. But anyway, the reason why he's also quite an interesting character is that when he wore these stacked heels, he could hardly walk. I mean, literally, they were so high.
Did you have platform shoes?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Huge. And I had a pair that were so big that they snapped in the middle.
Did they?
You know, because the sole was about 2 or 3 inches thick.
Yeah.
The heel was about 6 inches thick, and there was only a little bit of sort of leather which, held the two together.
Sure.
And it snapped. And
I used to go to a shop in Kensington, I remember, where I bought them,
Really?
Which I think it's still there, but I mean, it was one of those ridiculously sort of fashionable
I loved
shops.
my shoes. I really did. I loved them. And I loved the flares and everything.
My father was absolutely horrified when I used to wear them.
My parents were as well. They just couldn't believe it. They said it'll cripple you and you look ridiculous.
Right.
You look like a girl and all this kind of stuff, you know. But anyway, the point is that the response to him staggering around on these stacked heels, because, that was the image that was promoted in the sort of mid-70s, was that when the group sort of disappeared or just broke up or whatever, he then decided that in order to restore his health from staggering around on these high heels, he'd go for a walk along the South Coast Path.
Oh, yeah. Where's that?
Well, it can run from as far as Cornwall to Kent, you see.
That's a bit of a long way to walk in platform shoes.
Well, no, he took the platform shoes off and put flat shoes on to try and restore his body momentum in walking. Anyway, it was supposed to be like a walk for a day. He said, I'm going to go on the South, I'm going to walk. And his ambition was to walk 20 miles, but he got obsessed with it and he walked 680 miles.
What do you think he's in both of them?
Well, it took him 2 months.
Really?
And he wouldn't stop.
Right.
And it took over his life. And when he'd finished all that walking, he then decided that he needed contentment, so he spent the next few years fishing.
Right.
And didn't speak to anybody.
Okay.
He sat on a riverbank.
Did he live alone? Was he not married or anything?
He never got married.
Okay.
And he spent 2 or 3 years fishing for carps by sitting on a riverbank.
Carps?
Yeah, for carp. Yeah. That's a particular fish.
Yes, I know that.
And with a luminous pink rod. don't know about the luminous pink rod.
Why would he have a luminous pink rod?
I don't know, but he did. But anyway, he was one of the colourful characters of the glam rock era, and perhaps the man who even invented it.
Well,
and he sadly departed.
Well, one of those bands that sort of came and went quite quickly, weren't they? I mean, I'm sure people will argue with me and go, "Oh no, they were around for ages." But as far as their kind of time in the firmament. Ian Hunter was the lead singer, who was a pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
Mick Ronson, of course, ended up playing guitar for David Bowie for quite a lot of his career as well. And he was also in Mott the Hoople. So there was a bit of a sort of, crossover between that.
I've got a bit of information here. They went on tour, Mott the Hoople.
Yes.
And they were in Switzerland, and the tour didn't work, and the shows weren't very good. They came back and they decided to split up, okay?
Yeah.
But the problem is, in the mail that they picked up when they got back, they found a note from David Bowie.
Yeah.
David Bowie had been an early fan of the band. He thought their sound was good.
Well, that's why he gave them the song.
Well, I was about to say to you, I'll tell you what happened. And he sent them a tape of a new composition he'd just written called Suffragette City.
Yes.
Anyway.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, and a note from a personal hand note from Bowie said, "This might be of some use to you guys. Would you like to cover it?"
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the band had been so poor on their European tour, they'd broken up. So Peter over in Watts rings up David Bowie.
Right.
and said, look, thanks ever so much for offering us that song, but actually, I'm afraid that we're not going to need it now because we've broken up. Mott the Hoople are splitting up.
Right.
And Bowie said, you guys can't. You're very, very good. He said, look, I'll call you back in a couple of hours.
Right.
Bowie then called them back to say, look, if you didn't like that song, Suffragette City, I've just written another one for you, and it's called All the Young Dudes.
Right.
And he played it over the phone on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And that was actually when Mott the Hoople became...
And that was their biggest hit, wasn't it?
It was the biggest hit. That's when they became an established band.
Yeah.
So they'd been touring around
guy.
Europe in the back of a van, you know what I mean? Not getting anywhere until Bowie gave them this song. And then, as you quite rightly say, that was what made them great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great story.
Yeah.
How about this from somebody called Jim, who says, I'm sorry, fellas, but the Corby trouser press was in fact invented by John Corby in Windsor.
Right,
Nothing to do with the town of Corby.
No, I could have told you
see,
that.
I'm surprised about it.
Could have told you that.
Well, you could have, but you didn't tell me that.
Well,
so you didn't know it.
I like you to sometimes make a fool of yourself.
I don't make you see the difference between you and I, right? Is that I don't mind getting things wrong.
Yeah, well, I don't mind getting things wrong.
I'm quite happy to admit when I've got something wrong, but I'm not certain actually that that's the correct explanation.
No, I think it is.
Why would you call it a Corby trouser press if you're not from Corby?
Because the
guy's name is Corby.
Yeah, well, that's why you call.
What else can you call after somebody?
The Western pistol, invented by
Mr. Weston.
Mr. Weston, that's right, yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, of course I'm sure.
Tar McAdam.
Well, what about the...
Yeah, but Weston is not a place, is it? That's my point.
No, it's a man.
Yeah.
Well, all right, well...
What I'm saying is you call things after somebody if they've got a genuine name, and that's fine. It travels onto the manufactured thing.
Yes.
But if it shares its name with a geographical place...
But that doesn't.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So it's not the same example. Give me an example of something which is named after a place, but there's actually nothing to do with it, like the Corby trouser press.
Why? Why do you want to?
Because that means that this. I don't think this is right.
I don't think you're talking sense.
I'm talking a lot of sense.
What I was going to tell you about trouser presses is, I used to have one at home, but they're useless. Really? Yeah, they're not...
You see, that's the kind of thing you would have, like a tease made as well, right?
Yeah, I had a tease made as well.
Sort of rubbish
in the 70s, everybody...
70s
everyone had a Corby trouser press, but they were actually useless. I used to get somebody to press my trousers much better. But
Did you never press your own?
Yeah, I did actually for a few years with a wet dishcloth.
How did you avoid making them shiny?
Because I wet the dishcloth and I used to steam
I was just trying to picture you doing this.
Yeah, I used to do that.
Standing there in your boxer shorts.
But the thing is, never in my life have I ever put my trousers into a Corby trouser press in a hotel. I don't know how many filthy pairs of trousers have been in that trouser press before mine. I'm serious.
Absolutely.
I
wouldn't
do it.
People do all sorts of weird things with Corby trousers.
Yeah, I'm sure they do, yeah.
Well.
I'm sure they do.
With trousers.
I'm sure they do.
How about this from Wrong Star?
Yeah.
It sounds like Paul Burrow was the royal family version of Porky at the FA. If Porky was butler to Diana, we'd have never heard the end of it.
No,
it's very true. That a very good example of what the problems are.
No,
Neil Irving says this: Porky would have told us Princess Diana was an Everton fan.
Well, I don't think I would. He used to go. He used to go to that pub. The
one in the middle of Victoria.
Yeah, it's right out the back of the Buckingham Palace, the Queen's Gallery.
Well, the one on the backstairs Billy used to hang out in.
Yeah, that's right. Isn't it called the nuts? There's something about nuts in it.
There is something about nuts, but it's nothing to do with the name.
No,
we'll get back to that.
Yeah, it was. What was it called?
I don't know. I've never been there.
Wasn't it called?
I'm aware of
bag of.
A bag of cobblers.
No, it was a bag of spades. Or a bag of nuts or something. No, it was. Bag of nails. It was called the Bag of Nails. Honest to God. The Bag of Nails pub
if you say so.
In Victoria. And that's where all the royal sort of servants used to go for their fun after work.
Well, the only reason I know about it is because our man for the Mirror, who ended up becoming a servant and getting himself blagging his way into Buckingham Palace, used to go there all the time.
We used to send people in there all the time.
He said it was an absolute nightmare.
To get royal secrets.
He said it was a nightmare.
You had to actually sometimes give your body up in order to find royal secrets.
Well, if you say so. I'm sure it was worth it. Craig says Leeds Castle isn't in Leeds. That's true. That's a good one. This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport.
And it's in!
A diving header at the end of a 50-yard run.
From the root to the tip.
Talk Sport.
Do you come from a land down under? Women go and men wonder. Can't you hear the thunder? You better run, you better take cover.
Some people listen to this show are very stupid, right? I've got a tweet here from James.
That's a bit harsh. Come on, we cherish all our millions of listeners.
Yeah, well, we cherish all of our millions of listeners, but, if you're stupid and you send a tweet which is in some way insulting and then it's wrong, then I'm afraid I have to point out that it's wrong. Right. James says this, Melton Mowbray pork pie, a product named after a place, Graham the Plank. Yeah. That wasn't the question.
No, the question
is not can you tell me something that's named after a place? The question was, can you tell me something that's named after a place that actually wasn't named after the place because it was named after the person that invented it?
That's right.
Like the Corby trouser press.
What's that? Typical of what you're talking about. What's the service station on the M1 core, which is 50 miles from the actual place it's named after?
You're talking about Watford Gap?
Yes, exactly. But it's nowhere near Watford, is it?
No, but Watford Gap might not necessarily be anything to do with Watford.
No, well, there is no Watford Gap, believe me.
Well, is it what? You mean there is no sort of geographical scenario?
No.
So why is it called the Watford Gap?
I've no idea.
Well, do you know what the other one is?
Yes.
Which is the one before it.
What?
Which is nowhere near Newport.
Oh, no,
Newport Pagnell.
That's right, Newport Pagnell.
And I don't know why it's called Newport Pagnell.
No, do I.
So all of these things are fascinating.
Quite right.
But if anybody wants to start calling me a plank, you better get your facts right.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm afraid you're going to get slayed.
You see, you take exception, don't you, when somebody calls you a plank, and it's probably
listen, I don't mind
being in good humour.
I don't mind being corrected.
You
when
can't
I'm wrong.
take it. I can.
No, I don't. No, you've never admitted being wrong in your life.
Oh, yes, I have.
When have you ever been wrong?
Well, one time when I admitted I was
life.
wrong, I suddenly found out I was right, so I've given up admitting I'm wrong.
So you've never actually been wrong, have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to know when you've been wrong.
These things happen
We'll
sometimes.
come back to you because I've got somebody far more intelligent to talk to than you.
Yes,
and that
I
is
agree with
Sandra
that.
Lee. Sandra, very good morning to you.
Good morning, chaps. How are you?
Very well indeed, thank you.
We are very well indeed. I'm slightly stunned and shocked to learn that the Corby trouser press was not named after the city called Corby or the town called Corby, but in fact it was named after a bloke called Corby who didn't ever live there.
Yeah, and that's our irrelevant fact for the night. Thank you very much indeed.
Well,
Can we now get on talking about serious things?
Well, no, because I want to know whether Sandra has ever used a Corby trouser press.
Well, in Australia?
I've never heard of it until this very moment.
Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Thank you.
Not because she's in Australia. She's travelled the world, Sandra.
Yeah, I
she's
know
lived
that,
in Britain. She's lived in America.
Yeah.
She might have come across a Corby trouser
Women
press.
are not known to be great fans of trouser presses
You're
anyway, to be
about
honest.
as much of an expert on women as you are on everything else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, is that right? Yeah. Now then.
Anyway, Sandra, tell us about this massive spider. Is it still in your house?
Yes.
It's still in the house somewhere, but we don't know where it's gone. So the last I saw it was last night, and it was sitting over a blind, and it literally is as big as your hand span. It is massive. I've never seen as big a huntsman in my life.
It's a huntsman, is it? Does that mean it's not poisonous or anything like that?
No, it's not poisonous, and it does get rid of mosquitoes and flies. The only problem is that they do have pretty big fangs, and if they get angry or if they panic and if they fang onto you, it's a pretty painful bite.
Yeah, I've never been bit by a spider, actually, so I wouldn't know what a spider bite is.
Most people have, even though...
Have they?
Yeah, I mean, you might...
Yeah.
If you wake up in the morning and you've got a little bite in your arm...
Yeah, it might be a little spider or something.
But I'll tell you how you tell, because it's 2 holes as opposed to 1.
Oh, I see, with the fangs. The thing is, Sandra, my mum and dad always used to tell me, don't be afraid of spiders. Spiders are very clean and they keep other things out of your house. So it can actually be quite a benefit, can it, have a spider or 2 around?
Having an odd huntsman is not too bad, as long as you sort of don't upset them and they don't upset you and they don't crawl over you in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
But there's a few others in Australia that you would certainly not want anywhere near you, being the redback, and which I think we've spoken about before. Remember we had a conversation about a tradie who sat on an outdoor dunny and got
more than once,
one
right?
week, and he went back twice.
Yeah, absolute idiot.
Yeah.
But you see, that's the thing that would worry me slightly, is that it's all very well when you can see it in the corner and you go, well, it's not going to bother us at all. Yeah. But if it's disappeared, wouldn't you be scared that it's going to kind of creep out on you at some point?
Yeah, but they're not dangerous.
I'm not
spiders.
asking you, I'm asking Sandra.
Well, I am a bit worried. It's sort of like the last time I saw it, it was sitting in our sort of bar room over where we watch television. I'm thinking, okay, is it going to become crawling out anywhere that you just don't want it to be?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that it's just sort of gone out the window, because I left the windows open all the last 24 hours, hoping it would find its own way out.
It seemed to live, from the pictures that you sent out, Sandra, it seemed to live on the end of its own sort of nylon cord. Was it just like suspended off the ceiling for a couple of days?
Well, no, it grips the ceiling. They're upside down. They hold onto the ceiling.
No, it looked as though it was in like mid-air to me. Was it just hanging there?
No, it was upside down on the wall.
Oh, I see.
How much did you have to drink when you were looking at the picture?
No, I hadn't. Listen, just talking about animals, Sandra. I saw a horrendous picture today, and it may be a common occurrence in your land, but. Look at this. Tourist Michelle Hoonjack was strolling in Byron Bay on Australia's east coast when she took a picture of a possum half disappeared into a carpet python, which was eating it.
Oh.
I mean, I hate to see these pictures, but I mean, is that a very common occurrence in Australia? These pythons swooping down and eating small animals.
Yes, that's exactly what they feed on, and they basically just lay there and wait, and then they're really quick. They grab them, and then they just pulverise them slowly.
My God, that's horrendous. Can't they do that to a child or something? Don't you worry that might happen one day?
A possum's not quite as big as a child, is it?
It is.
A possum is the size of a child.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you haven't had any kids, but
hang
a possum
on.
is not very big.
Let me show you the picture.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I'm looking at
That's
it.
a big possum, yeah?
No, it's not a big possum.
It's
a possum.
It is. But I mean, sorry, Sandra, you weren't allowed to answer the question, the killer question I asked you. Do you ever fear, do Australians ever fear for their children?
No.
What? Well, I would.
Maybe
another
with
subject
dingoes, maybe with crops.
Another subject that Porky is very familiar with: children.
Yeah, hang on. If you've got these mad carpet pythons lying around in wait for people, who's to say that?
I mean, you're not that big. They might carry you off. Maybe we shouldn't go down there.
Oh, ridiculous. Who's to say that a little toddler who's toddling around, so to speak, suddenly toddles off into a bit of undergrowth, and next minute, no sign of toddler, just a lump in the middle of a python.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I think he's been spending those long afternoons in Wetherspoons again. I think that's the trouble. Although, speaking of snatched animals, right? There was a case, was there not, a few days ago of a shark that came up onto a beach and took somebody's pet.
Amazing.
Yes, not far from where I live, actually.
Really?
Probably about 6 to 10 kilometres away from where I live.
Yeah.
It was in Port Botany and shallow water, and the couple were frolicking on the beach and throwing the ball and sticks for their dog.
Yeah.
And the dog was going into the shallows, and then all of a sudden they see the dog get dragged under by a shark.
My God, that's horrendous. Didn't they dive in and wrestle with the shark? I would have done.
Well, that's what I would have done too, but they didn't. I thought, the rotten owners. Anyway, they went and alerted the police, and that area has become quite a little breeding ground for sharks. So the experts are saying they think it was a junior great white.
What does that mean? Like a great white that hasn't grown up yet?
Yeah, a baby.
Slightly less than great.
Yeah,
well, think of another word. What would you say is less than great?
I'd say immature.
No, it's got to be slightly great.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
See what I mean? So slightly great.
Okay, well, you could call it half great.
Half great.
Yeah,
so half great. White.
Yeah,
There you go.
The half
Porky
great.
has named it a half great.
We don't have half greats in this country. We have half bakes. There's one sitting next to me in this studio.
Yeah,
believe me.
Absolutely right. Now I must tell you, Sandra, that you'll be very envious and jealous of me because, as is Porky's, I'm off to New York on Saturday to see my beautiful sister and my beautiful mother, both of whom you're very well acquainted with.
Yes, I am, and I love both of them. The two Maoris are
two Maoris, that's what I call them.
Yeah, the two Maoris, they're fantastic. I love them and adore them. So will you please pass on my fondest regards?
I will. Now, you might have been to New York more recently than me, because I was there like about a year ago. I don't know whether there's some place you can tell me where I can be recommended to go. I'm actually going to go and check out a place called the City Winery, where Porky and I might be doing a show.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming up towards the end of the year. Have you ever been down there? It's down in Varick Street.
I haven't been. No, I haven't been down there.
Okay.
I haven't at all. But I tell you what, there's a fantastic place if you like barbecue, old-fashioned Southern barbecue out in Brooklyn.
Okay.
It's called Hometown, and you have to get there early because there's always queues around the block. It is the most sensational food for barbecue.
Tremendous. Okay.
Well, the thing is, though, I never even bother leaving Manhattan when I go to New York. I think once you've left Manhattan, you're not going anywhere.
Well, no, but Brooklyn's very trendy now.
Well, it is now, I agree, yeah, but that's only since the Beckhams had a child and called it Brooklyn.
No, it's nothing to do with the Beckhams.
You wouldn't be surprised if that was a PR stunt in association with the borough of Brooklyn, would you?
No,
I'm sure it wasn't.
You've by far and away overestimated the Beckham brand.
Now, the thing is, Sandra, we have to get a bit serious now because there have been multiple reports in the press and the media in this country about the appalling tragedy of so many children taken from this country, Great Britain, and is to start new lives in Australia, and it didn't go well.
No, it didn't. And it was a terrible thing at the outset when you think about it. These poor little kids, some as young as 2 and 3 years old, being either abandoned or taken away. Some of those darling little children were told that their parents were dead when they weren't.
Yes.
It was just the cruelest of things. And then they got sent down to Australia to various so-called charitable organisations where they were supposed to be looked after, and they were sexually and physically abused and emotionally abused. It's just an absolute outrage, and I'm so glad that there's being an inquiry into it over there now, because a couple of years ago in Australia, 60 of them got together and they took out a class action lawsuit against the New South Wales and the federal governments, which they finally, after 7 years, won.
Right. I mean, you can't believe human behaviour sometimes, can you? It's almost like going back 200 years, shipping, shiploads of kids over to Australia who basically became slaves. And you can. It's barely believable, is it, that people would have done that? So I have to say, I'm delighted now that the whole scandal's being unveiled. But there must be some people still living in Australia very, very badly damaged by their experiences.
Oh, there are. And when these inquiries come up and people stand up and give testimony, it brings it all back for them. So it's kind of a revolving door. It's just heartbreaking. You can't, and you see these 60 and 70 and 80-year-old men and women now, and when they were just wee little things and they were abandoned and no one to hug them at night, no one to, love them, it breaks your heart.
It does.
You can still see you can see the pain etched on their faces now.
Is it getting much play over there? Because obviously it's a big story here, and because
I suppose it's a bit of a national shame.
Well,
really,
historic crime is the kind of the in thing, without wishing to diminish it. People are really buying into it all now, and historical actions of governments and some other people and groups and celebrities and all that. I mean, is it getting much play in Australia?
It is. It's actually getting a lot of play down here because we've been going through a similar inquiry down here with institutional abuse of children, sexual and physical abuse and emotional abuse. So it's become a red hot ticket down in Australia, and it's getting sort of front page, and it's leading the nightly news. It's a very, very big story down here, and also too because our government was as complicit as your government.
Oh, absolutely. It was a terrible scandal. On a brighter note, Sandra, our very flamboyant Foreign Secretary, Boris Johnson.
Mr. Johnson, yes.
Yeah, has recently met your Foreign Secretary, the Australian Foreign Secretary, and certainly, people of a certain persuasion in this part of the world hope that will spark a renewed era of trade and prosperity between our two nations. Is that getting any play down there?
It is, and that would be great because we're always good on the hunt for more open trade and sort of better relationships. And, since the post-war era, the Australian and the British trade has sort of declined in favour of others, especially with Australia, with the Asian market. So we've got increased trade with China, increased trade with Japan and India. It'd be good to get sort of back on a good footing with Britain.
Is your Foreign Secretary a woman, as I remember from that? And what sort of a person is she? How does she rate as a politician?
She rates pretty good. She's the deputy leader of the Liberal Party here, so she's number 2 to our Prime Minister, although she's not the Deputy Prime Minister because that's the head of the Coalition Party.
Right.
She's been the number 2 in the Liberal Party for the past 4 leaders of the Liberal Party. So there's some question as to whether or not she has aspirations for the top job. Nobody can tell.
Oh, I see.
A
bit like Boris Johnson.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think she likes swanning around the world, in designer gear and meeting heads of state and sort of, drinking in first class sort of, cabins.
Oh, they all do.
Sounds like your kind of woman, Porky.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You give me a phone number, will you? I need to start talking to this person immediately.
Exactly right. Listen, Sandra, we've got to go. Thank you so much for joining
Sandra,
us.
as ever.
Have a lovely week or so. We'll talk to you very soon. Sandra Lee there reporting into us from Sydney, Australia, where it's still around about 36, 37 degrees, by the way.
My God.
Still pretty hot. Got some great tweets coming in about places that are named after places they are not.
Yes.
Which is, again, not quite the question I was asking, but nevertheless, well done. Keep them coming at the Two Mics.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Always lovely to talk to Sandra Lee down in Australia. We are still planning to go and head down there and do a show, aren't we?
Well, I have been talking to
possibly the next year.
Yeah, I've been talking to the Sydney Opera House, and
not this year, right?
Not this year, but it could be year
sometime soon. Ian has tweeted us at the Two Mics. What a lovely picture Porky is painting. A toddler-shaped lump in the middle of a python.
Oh, it's terrible. I'm sorry.
Family show.
But you do see these horrific pictures, don't you? These pythons, they swallow like antelopes and all sorts of things.
Yeah,
you see.
I mean, do you remember? Was there not one with a crocodile?
Yeah, something like that.
Which
crocodile versus a python. I can't bear all that. I can't stand creepy crawly stuff. You know.
Exactly.
Now, talking about.
Hang on, let me just read you a few more tweets.
Please do.
Stud says this: me, the Windsor Grammar School pupil, 1971 to 77, is now feeling proud of being from an industrial town. # Corby Press.
Yeah.
And I've asked people to name me places that were named not for, or named things which were not named for the place they supposedly come from.
You see, that's a very complicated...
It's not complicated.
It is. People don't understand what you're looking for. What are you looking for?
Well, look at the Corby Trouser Press, right?
Yes.
For all intents and purposes, you would assume comes from Corby.
I never did.
In Northampton.
I never did.
Apparently it doesn't come from Corby, Northampton, because it was invented by a guy who was called Corby.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Nobody seems to get this. It's not difficult. However, I'm quite enjoying some of the other stuff coming in. Mick says, Scotch Corner isn't in Scotland, which is true.
That's right.
And CLC says, how about this, places that don't exist? Port Vale Football Club, there is no place called Port Vale.
That's right.
Which is true.
It's not one of the 5 towns in the pottery.
Actually, 6 towns.
6 towns of the pottery.
Matt says Watford Gap, according to Google, is named after a low-lying area of land between hills near the village of Watford in Northamptonshire.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah, well, I'm not aware of that. The other one is, isn't the football team that Gordon Brown supports doesn't exist, does it, in terms of a place?
Which team is that?
It's
Wraith
Rovers.
Yeah.
They'll be dancing on the streets of Wraith tonight, but there's no place called Wraith, is there?
I don't believe there is, no.
Exactly.
But where they play in Fife somewhere, don't they? They not play near Kirkcaldy or somewhere?
Kirkcaldy, is it?
Kirkcaldy.
I'll be dancing. There was a famous commentator who said, I'll be dancing in the streets of Wraith.
It was the guy that used to do all the rugby.
Archie McPherson.
Bill McLaren.
Archie
McPherson was a football commentator.
Oh, I've worked with him. I worked with Archie McPherson.
Sure you have. Why don't you tell us a nice story about you
I did
instead of him?
I did a show with him once, right, and he was very old then. And
when I said, why don't you tell us a nice story about you and him, I didn't actually mean that.
No, I was going to tell you, but he's very old and he's a bit doddery. And I made a mistake in recruiting him to the...
What, you signed this guy up, did you?
I didn't sign him up. We happened to be in Scotland, doing some, show the day before an England international.
What was the other guy? Arthur Montford was the other guy,
Don't remember Arthur Montford.
He was a mate of my old man's.
But I remember Archie McPherson well, and it was only when I sat down next to Archie I realised how old and doddery. Is he dead now, by the way?
I don't know. I
think he is. And he kept reading out the wrong things off bits of paper and all that kind of stuff.
A bit like you, then?
Well, it became a bit of a fiasco, actually.
Did you do a show with him?
Yeah, I did a show with him, yeah.
That must have been. Yeah, they're from Kirkcaldy, I was right.
Yeah, Kirkcaldy?
Wraith Rovers, Kirkcaldy in Fife.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
The club was founded in 1883.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
So there you go.
Yeah, I'm very pleased about that.
We fill you with information on the show.
We certainly do.
Yeah.
But look, I tell you what, we're talking about animals there, right? And I made a fantastic discovery.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know that wild elephants only need 2 hours sleep a night?
I was reading something about this today, yeah, because quite frankly, a lot of people were tweeting you saying you've got a lot in common with these elephants.
Oh, really? I didn't see that. But
Did you
anyway,
not see that?
They survive on 2 hours sleep a night.
Yeah.
They go without rest for as long as 46 hours.
And they never forget either, do they?
They never forget, and they can cover distances without stopping of 20 miles.
The never forget bit, of course, is where they differ from you.
I never forget. The latest study, researchers monitored 2 free-roaming African elephant matriarchs. That's like the mothers.
Yes.
Because, the bull elephants just push off all the time.
Do they? Well, where do they go?
Well, they just go off rampaging around. The bull elephants, the male elephants, leave the family and go off rampaging around, eating trees and all that kind of stuff.
Because when you see, some of these wildlife programs, they're quite. They like the family unit elephants, don't they?
Well, yeah, but always led by the mother. You know, when you see a string of elephants and the trunk is connected to the tail of the elephant in front.
Yes,
that's the mother and all the children. There's never a male. There's never a bull elephant in that. He goes off and makes a separate life.
But so do they just continually have the sort of morals of an alley cat type lifestyle and then making families everywhere?
Yes, that's
right.
What
you're talking about?
That is right. That is right. What they found is that elephants slept an average of 2 hours a day, the shortest known time of any land mammal. That's all they need. On several days during a study, the elephants went without sleep for up to 46 hours, and in that 46 hours may have travelled as far as 19 or 20 miles, possibly due to being aware of a disturbance such as lions who attack them or poachers.
Yeah.
The elephants sleep lying down only every few nights. They sometimes sleep standing up.
Horses sleep standing up, don't they?
Do they?
I think so.
Do they?
Yeah. Cows as well.
Cows do?
Yeah.
I see cows lying down all the time.
Yeah, they do lie down. But,
Yes.
you know, there's the old wives' tale, isn't there? If a cow is lying down,
Yeah.
it means it's going to rain.
Well, it does, because what they do is they protect the ground below them to keep it dry.
Yeah.
That's why they
Why?
lie down.
Why do they want to keep the ground dry?
So that they don't sit on wet grass.
Yeah, but why, if they didn't sit in the first place, they wouldn't have to worry about it.
No, but if they don't know how long the rain's going to last,
Right.
so what they do is they sit down to make sure the ground below them is dry.
Yeah, but why would they bother about sitting? Because they don't sit down as a general course, a general thing, do they?
Yeah, but they know how long the rain's going to last, and they sit down at least once a day.
Do they?
So if the rain goes on for 2 or 3 days, the grass is always wet, so they
I
sit
see.
down to keep the land...
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, of course
No,
I'm
it's
sure.
rubbish.
It's not...
That's complete
It is
confidence.
not... Well, why do you think they sit down?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
They sit down. When you see cows
Usually
sitting
cows
down...
stand.
You
don't
know,
they?
yeah. When cows sit down, you know rain is coming. The reason for that is that cows have sensors in their head which can tell that it's going to rain.
Are you sure?
And that's the moment they sit down
Yeah.
because they're protecting the ground below them to keep it dry.
Yeah, but if they didn't sit down in the first place, my point is,
Yeah.
and they don't always sit down,
Yeah.
because when it's raining, I've seen cows standing up.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if they're not bothered about standing in the rain,
Yeah.
why do they want the grass beneath their feet or hooves to be dry?
They don't like sitting on wet grass.
Yeah, but what if they're not sitting? It doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, but they have to sit once a day because they get tired and they want to sit down.
Really? You think?
I mean, honestly, I don't.
I'm not sure.
You're so dense not to be able to appreciate the point I'm making, which
These
is a very
points-
basic one.
No, but
if you
these-
sit down on a
these are
bit
the
of
things
grass,
that people like to know the answer to.
I've given you the answer.
Yeah,
that
but-
bit of grass can't get wet because the cow's sitting on it. You oaf.
But I don't know why you get so objectionable about
Well,
it.
it's just because you are so stupid
no.
sometimes. It irritates me.
Well, I know it irritates you, but the reason why people like to
Yeah.
hear the answers to these questions
Yes.
is because nobody actually knows for sure. You know, because
I
you
know
live
for sure.
No, because you live in a world which is a black and
Yeah.
white world.
Yeah.
You think everything has an answer. Not everything doesn't have an answer.
Listen,
and that's called philosophy.
I live in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey.
Yes,
so
and they're drilling for oil there, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I see both the urban requirements of urban life when
Yeah.
I travel up to the city,
Yeah.
and I see the country requirements of country
You
life
don't
when
live
I'm
anywhere
down
near
in
the
Stockbroker
country.
Belt.
You're
Excuse me.
part of what you call Stockbroker
Excuse
Belt,
me.
Surrey, is
Yeah.
technically part of London.
No,
It is still part of outer London.
Don't be ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
Don't be
if
ridiculous.
I put your postcode into what is a postcode machine register, it will tell me that it is Greater London.
What on earth does a geographical pinpoint on a map
postcode
mean?
Well, it means
nothing.
Yeah, no, it means that you are categorised basically as somebody who lives in the suburbs of
No,
London.
it's utter rubbish.
It is not at all the country. Anyway, we're out of time.
Utter
but
rubbish.
The Porky Quiz is coming up and some Postman Pork. This is TalkSport.
Live on TalkSport. It's Mike Parry's post bag. I can't wait to see what's in there.
Postman Pork, Postman Pork, I eat my chips with just a fork, 'cause then I can still talk.
And here we are once again. Now,
We
normally
certainly
we
are.
only do this once a week, but we're
Yeah.
not here next week.
No.
So we thought we'd do a little bonus one,
Well,
right?
I have
and we've
to
got so
say-
much stuff to open.
I have to
that
say,
it needs to be done.
I'm going to really rip through these because there's so much here to get through,
okay.
and I want to thank everybody so much, kind of you to communicate with us on Postman Pork.
Yeah.
Keep it coming. It is Postman Pork, Talk Sport, Towers, if you want, and that's 18 Hatfields, London, SE1 8DJ. Let's
Exactly
get
right.
going.
Anything from Alice this week?
Nothing from Alice. Now, the first one is a plastic bag, and there's a shape of something inside it, which I think might be a lollipop.
A lollipop?
Yeah, and I'm opening it. Oh,
All
it's
right.
not a lollipop. What is it?
Where's it come from, this one?
Well, this has come, I don't know, there's a note inside.
Well,
Let me
doesn't it
see.
say on the front, though? It's normally got a stamp. This is what I'm always looking for.
No, it just says Hatfields on the United Kingdom. It's come from abroad.
Oh, right.
It's come from China.
China?
It's come from China. It's got Chinese writing on the outside.
Oh, right.
It's come from China.
Who's it addressed to?
It's addressed to me, Postman Pork.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway, look, it's not a lollipop. Do you know what it is?
What is it?
It's I don't know what it is.
Widget?
Hang on.
What is it?
Oh, it's it's a device. I'm going to take a picture of it.
Uh-huh.
It's a device which is a.
Looks like something they were torturing that guy from Taboo in.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, but what it is, it's a cylinder on the end of an extended arm, which pushes half the cylinder away from the top half of the cylinder.
Right.
You clearly put something in it, and then you do something with it. But I don't know what.
Show it to me. Let me
Okay.
see.
Yeah, you have a look at that, and
Are
I'll
you sure
keep
this is
opening.
not? This is a tea.
Yeah.
It's a tea. It's a tea thing. You put
What?
tea in it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's for
tea. Oh, okay.
You know how?
Well, that's why it's from China then.
Well, exactly.
All the tea in China. China.
Do you know how?
You know the expression?
You put your tea in there, right?
Yeah.
And you put you stick it into the cup.
Brilliant.
And then you pour the hot water in.
Yeah.
And it basically, it diffuses the tea into the liquid.
Right. I'm ripping open this package now. It's parcel. What is in here? Seems
John
to be
Hearn's got
some
one of these,
kind of
you
a...
know.
Hey?
I think John Hearn's got one of these.
Has he really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's strange. I wonder why he's got one. Right, the world's first voice-controlled hybrid radio for cars.
What?
This is what I've been sent.
A radio?
No, I've been sent, I think, a package to promote it. It says radio player car gives you more than just a great radio.
Right.
And then
You've already got a radio in your car, haven't you?
Oh, hang on. It is. Listen.
Well, it's a book that plays the radio.
It's a promotional book.
Yeah. Why are you playing the station that it's currently playing? It's a different station.
Yeah, I'm turning the volume up.
No, don't, because it's not our station. Why are you promoting a different station?
Because it's promoting a car. I don't know what it is.
it's promoting a different radio station.
It's not. It's just promoting a car. Don't worry.
Let me see.
Anyway, I've closed it. It's called Have a Radio Player in Your Car, and this is a...
Well, you know what radio player is, don't you?
What's that?
Radio player is an app that you get.
Oh, it's an app, is it? Okay.
By which you can play the radio through.
Yeah, there's a handout with it. World's first voice-controlled hybrid radio for cars. So, well, thank you very much indeed, whoever sent me that. I don't know who did. But anyway, there you go. Right, let's keep going.
It's also not the world's first voice-controlled hybrid radio for cars, anyway.
Isn't it? Why?
No, because, I mean, some cars you can control the radio with your voice.
Well, there you go. But that's fantastic. Now, listen, got a big box here now.
Big box.
And it's not...
A boîte.
It's not a bottle. It's a square one in the shape of a bottle, OK? But it's definitely not a bottle. In fact, I'm struggling to get into this.
Well, then why are you opening it, then?
Well, I'm opening it because it's been sent to me. But let me tell you this.
Whose name's on the front?
Mine. It says Postman Pork.
OK, that is your name.
I can tell it is not a bottle because it's not heavy enough, but I'm opening it now, and guess what I've been sent?
I've no idea.
Hang on, I'm getting it open. I'm getting it open. There's a note on the end. Here's the note. I'm going to read the note now. This comes from Nick in Malden, in Essex.
Nick in Malden?
Not far from Tollishunt, Darcy, which is where I did that story about Jeremy Bamber going around shooting all his family.
Oh, right, OK.
It says this on the note, by the way. That's not me. It says, Dear Porky, thank you for the brilliant podcast you have given us since teaming up again with MG.
Oh, yeah.
Enclosed are a couple of gifts for your excellent work. Best wishes, Nick. Well, that's so kind of you, Nick. What have we got here? We've got laser... He sent me a set of Christmas lights by the look of it.
Christmas
Except
lights?
It's not Christmas, is it?
No. Well, maybe they're just lights to put around your...
no, it says Christmas...
The Porky Penthouse roof garden.
Well, he says a couple of things he sent me. I can only find these lights. Anyway, it says...
Has he not sent me anything?
No. Oh, actually, it's not Christmas lights. You know what it is?
I don't know.
For some unknown reason, he sent me a print cartridge.
A print cartridge?
Yeah, a laser print cartridge.
Are you sure he hasn't just used that box to put something else in?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Let's have a look in here.
Why would you mistake a printer cartridge for Christmas lights?
Well, because this box has never been opened.
A printer cartridge is, like, solid and quite long.
Look, I tell you what, while I'm opening some more letters, do you want to open that? Because...
I'll give it to me.
It has been opened at that end. That needs opening, and find out what's in there, please.
I suspect there's a bottle of something in here.
Well, I don't think there is, actually. He says it's a couple of gifts, but he says it's not Christmas lights. Right, let's get to...
He says he hasn't sent you Christmas lights.
No, he hasn't sent me Christmas lights. Right, here's
why would he say I haven't sent you Christmas lights?
Now, I'm just opening this card here. I don't know who this is from. But it's
maybe I can use the tea strainer to open it.
It says to all of you a big thanks, right?
Yeah.
So I'm opening this, and inside, a very strange picture of something. It's a ghost or something. Right, this is from Bushy and Hearts, from Caroline.
Caroline in Bushy.
Come on, sweet Caroline. Bushy and Hearts.
Right.
It says, I am an avid listener, and I've really enjoyed the true or false storytelling. Well, I mean, it's all true with us. Who's this dressed to? Let me have a look.
True or false?
Yeah. We don't do that ridiculous nonsense. Yeah, it says the two mics, yeah. So it says... listen, story 20. You guys are brilliant. I'm enclosing a photo. Here. Well, I'm skipping across. There's an awful lot of words in this card.
Yeah, look, I've got this for Mike Graham in here, and it says for Porky.
Oh, I see. So 2 presents, yeah.
Well, actually, it looks like there's 3.
Okay, well, you want to pull them out while I'm doing this,
there's
please?
2 for me and 1 for you.
Oh, really? 2 presents for you, 1 for me? Okay.
That's what it looks like.
Right, it says here, I'm enclosing a photo I took at an away game when Scunthorpe were promoted to the Championship. Scunny versus Watford. I'm a Watford lifelong supporter. It wasn't a very entertaining game, 0-0 draw. Well, what's it a picture of? I mean, can you make out what that is a picture? What's that? What are you laughing at?
That's your present.
It's my
toilet
present?
brush.
Oh, really? Why have you said it's £1.99?
That's what's come for you.
So I have to point that this is not a used toilet brush. It's a new one, still wrapped up.
Why would you send you a used one?
Bathroom essentials, £1.99.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know.
I, on the other hand,
have
got some sea
Still
salt
got the cellophane around it, eh?
This is what I've got.
What?
Sea salt flakes.
Sea salt flakes. And what's the third present?
Well, the third, 2 boxes of salt.
2 boxes, one each?
One, they're both for me.
Both for you?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
you got the toilet brush.
Yeah, I don't know why. He just sent me a bog brush.
Well, maybe he thinks you need one.
Well,
maybe
why?
it's Derek in Pencoed who sent you that.
Oh, maybe it is. Maybe he's... does it say who it's from?
You told me who it was from. You opened it earlier.
Oh, yeah.
You thought it was a printer cartridge was full of Christmas lights.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Turns out to be a printer cartridge full of
that's
toilet
right.
brush.
Yeah, who was the guy again?
It was Nick, wasn't it? Wasn't it Nick in Essex?
It was Nick, yeah.
Near the place where all those people were massacred.
Can you make out this picture? This is supposed to be a picture of a football match between Watford and Scunthorpe.
What?
Can you make that picture out?
No,
I can't.
It
either.
looks like a horse running through the mist.
It's just like somebody set fire to the goal or something. It's just, you can see a goal and a load of smoke.
Maybe there's a load of mist rising from the people in front of him.
But anyway, look, it doesn't matter because
it does look like a man on a horse, doesn't it?
It says to Caroline. It says it's from Caroline. She says, "Thank you to all at TalkSport for keeping me entertained, and educated. I love the 2 mics. Do you know any history of Scunthorpe's football ground or anybody that does? Please, as I'd be really interested to know."
You've been to Scunthorpe, haven't you?
I've been to Scunthorpe. Yeah, I went to the Everton game there.
Yeah.
I went to the game in the team coach. I want to thank you very much indeed, Caroline. It's always lovely to hear from our millions of listeners. Right, here's one here, and this is addressed to Postman Pork.
Yeah.
This one. It's open here. Find out what's in here.
Yeah, what's in there? It's very warm in here. Have you turned the temperature?
No, I've tried not to. Right, dear Porky, it says here. Hang on. Yes, it does indeed.
Is it a printer cartridge?
First of all, congratulations on a cracking show and a recent edition of Ask Porky.
Yeah.
You kindly agreed to send a signed copy of the 2 Mics DVD to me so I can put it towards lots for an auction that I'm holding to raise funds.
By the way, do you remember that the one you read out last week or earlier this week?
Yes.
So have you signed the DVD and sent it back?
I'm working on it. Well,
because you've got to remember to do that. I mean, it's not just about opening things and forgetting about it.
No.
If people ask you for something to be signed...
I do it. I'm working on it. My staff are working on it.
Make sure you haven't asked me to sign it because you wanted us to both sign it.
Oh, well, don't worry. We'll do that this evening. Right. If I can also be really cheeky, can I ask Mr. Parry if he's got any connections in football? Could he possibly get any other signed memorabilia? All help is greatly received. And this is from Bill Bradford.
Okay.
And Bill is from Russell Place in London, South East 16. Where's that?
SE16 is Rotherhithe.
Rotherhithe, there you go. Do you know a place called Russell Place?
I don't know.
No, okay. We'll work on that one, Bill. Thank you very much indeed for contacting us. Let's open another one because, we haven't got all the time in the world.
Well, don't forget, if he wants something signed, you've got to put it to one side.
Otherwise
you'll forget to sign.
No, I won't forget anything like that. I don't forget my millions of listeners who bother to contact me. Right, let's have a look here. I'm opening this one here. Here we go. This is from somebody who calls themselves Kanye West, although I don't think it's the Kanye West, is it? Huh?
I don't think it's Kanye West that sent it to you.
This is a Wetherspoon's voucher. Somebody sent me a Wetherspoon's voucher.
From Kanye West?
Yeah. It says, Dear Porky, I was so impressed...
Something in there from Beyonce.
Hang on. I was so impressed with your kind gesture last weekend when you bought the fish and chips for the down-and-out homeless deadbeat guy.
That's a terrible stunt, that.
That's a terrible way to describe this. In fact, our correspondent here, whose name is,
Kanye.
He calls himself Kanye Town, okay, to distinguish him from Kanye
Town.
West. Yeah. And he says, you bought fish and chips for that down-and-out homeless deadbeat half-baked bum. And he says, they're my words, not yours. Well, I don't think I'd describe him as that. He said, some of the criticism was very harsh. You truly are a man of the people and gave me the inspiration and idea to do something similar. I believe in karma, and what goes round comes round. Please find enclosed a Wetherspoon's gift card for £10.24p, which is just enough for a tableful one with fish and chips, bread and butter, and a cheap pint of Carlsberg. Please enjoy, Porky. Well, that is really very, very kind of you.
You're not going to accept that, are you?
Well, I don't know what to do, really. I mean, you don't like to turn gifts down.
Take it
kind.
to Wetherspoons and give it to the people at the bar and say, please give this to somebody more needy
more deserving
than myself.
Me. Maybe I could give it to the homeless guy.
You could do,
and say, mate, get yourself round to Wetherspoons. This is from a listener of Talk Sport.
Better still, why don't you take it in there yourself?
Yeah, very quickly, just...
the time, by the way.
Right, I would just like to say how much Picasso was lauded. He was the most overrated artist ever in the world. What he painted was rubbish. This is from Karen Tayside, Angus, Scotland.
Oh, yeah.
She says, I was right. Give me John Constable or Turner any day. Mike, we had a great artist, Macintosh Patrick in Dundee.
Okay.
And one very, very quickly.
We haven't got time for it anymore.
I'm just going to rip it open like this.
We haven't got time.
Do you know what it is? It's an empty packet of Porky strips.
Strips?
Yes.
What are they?
Don't know. But thank you for sending it anyway. Bought from Sainsbury's for £1.
Right.
Thank you very much indeed. I don't know. Oh, hey, there's a letter. Just very quickly.
What do you mean very quickly? The show's going to be over.
It just says, it's from me, P.
Me, P?
P.
Me, P?
No, P. It's just signed P.
P?
P.
Me?
P.
That was a Postman Pork.
Certainly was.
And lots more of the presents to come, I'm sure. Thank you very much indeed.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Work it, make it, do it, makes us harder, better, faster, stronger.
That don't kill me, can only make me stronger. I need you to hurry up now, cause I can't wait much longer. I know I got to be right now, cause I can't get much longer. Man, I've been waiting all night now, that's how long I've been on ya.
How'd you like this little musical interlude?
Good?
Yeah.
What is it?
Kanye West.
Oh, that's Kanye West, is
Yeah.
it? Yeah, I've got to get rid of all this rubbish now, look.
Yeah, you've got to get rid of it.
All the
you're the one that
rapping.
insists now. People are finally getting my question. You said people wouldn't understand it, right?
Yes.
But how about this as an illustration of how people are very clever out there?
Right.
Somebody called Look at the Light says this. The Winchester rifle was named after Oliver Winchester.
That's right.
You see, so there's something which is not named after the town, but is in fact named like the town.
Yeah.
And another one here.
Was that record Eton Rifles named after Eton?
No.
What was it named after then?
Well, it was a song about the war, basically.
I thought it was a song to mock David Cameron and all his Eton cohorts.
Well, no, because it was written way before David Cameron was even
rifles,
there.
Eton Rifles.
Yeah, no, it was written about the war.
Yeah.
Here's one from Lee, who says this. Most people think the Yorkshire pudding was named after Yorkshire. However, it was named after George Yorkshire, who was a famous baker.
Really?
How about that?
Yeah.
And Lee also says Bakewell Tart was named after Billy Bakewell, famous 19th century priest, the great-grandfather of television presenter Joan Bakewell.
Yeah. Not the village in Derbyshire, Bakewell.
Well, apparently not.
Oh.
See, that's my point.
There you go.
And also, Look at the Light says the Windsor knot was invented by Edward VII.
Yes.
But you see, there would be a reference to Windsor because obviously he was the king.
He was Edward Windsor.
And he would spend time in Windsor, and Windsor might well have been his last name as well.
Yes.
Now, you were talking about Picasso earlier.
Yeah.
Did you see earlier on in the day that the highest record price was paid for a painting?
How much?
I believe...
Was it 165 million?
I think it was not quite as much as that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to find the piece here. I've just got it here.
Right.
I think it was a painting by Gustav Klimt, who's one of my mother's favourite artists, actually, funnily enough.
Really?
Yeah.
Gustav
Klimt.
Never heard of him.
You've never heard of Klimt?
Sounds like a poser to me.
He's not a poser. He's a very good artist.
Okay.
But I can't wait. It was a record amount that it sold for, but I can't quite find the exact amount here.
Okay.
It won't open up, but I'll find it for you in a moment.
Right, okay. Do you know what I thought was great yesterday?
What did you find?
Ken Dodd went to the palace and got his knighthood.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's so well deserved, honestly. I really think that's brilliant.
Really?
That man has given so much joy to so many people over the years. My dad met him once in Liverpool, and my dad said, "Hi Ken, how are you?" He said, "I'm Tattafilarious," and pulled out his comb and backcombed his hair because there were a load of women shoppers around. My father used to be a travelling salesman, you know.
Right.
But he was, and my father, by the way, you won't believe it, he contributed to Ken Dodd get it to #1 in the charts.
How so? How so?
Well, he went out and bought his record and came back and played it for hours and hours on end. It was a terrible
so
record.
He, along like loads of other people, bought a copy of his record.
He did, yeah.
That was it. 48 million, by the way, is what the Klimt thing sold
48 million for a painting. That's good.
Yeah.
And do you know what the record was?
What?
The Ken Dodd record that got to #1.
No.
Tears for souvenirs.
I thought you were very critical of Ken Dodd
was all she left
when he got his knighthood.
Left me.
Would you mind not singing such a crap song? Would you please not sing? Would you please not sing such a terrible song?
Ago.
I'm trying to educate you here.
Yeah, well, I'm only singing it because to remind people. But I mean,
I thought you were critical of Ken Dodd being given any kind of honour.
Oh, I'm not critical at all. He's 89 years of age and he still goes on stage and does a 4-hour show without a break. How about that? And he's, you know...
Yeah, but I can't imagine anything more torturous than having to sit through 4 hours of Ken Dodd. I mean, what does he do for 4 hours?
He amuses people, tells them funny jokes and all that kind of stuff.
That would be absolute... I'd be like being taken hostage, that.
He made his professional
debut...
Did you hear what I said? What?
I said that would be like being taken
well,
hostage.
People pay good money to go and sit there and listen to him
for
all
4
that time.
hours.
Yeah. It says Sir Ken made his professional debut at the Nottingham Empire in 1954. And that's performed on radio and TV ever since. He's still touring with a show that often lasts 4 hours.
How about this from Lee? Kendal mint cake has no connection with the town of Kendal. It was named after Ken Dale, a famous Welsh mountaineer and pornographer, he says.
Oh, I don't like that because, of course, one of my football heroes of all time is Howard Kendall.
Yeah, well, indeed.
Yeah.
But he's got nothing to do with Kendal mint cake either.
No, he hasn't. No, I totally agree.
Anyway, so let me show you this picture.
Right.
This Klimt's picture, because it's rather good.
Okay.
And in fact, I believe my mother has a copy of this on her wall where she lives. Something really terrible going on.
Do you think I really want to see this?
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think
sure
you should
I do.
see it. I think you should
I'm going
see
to put out a picture now of some of the gifts that I've been sent in Postman Pork feature.
Yeah.
It's rather nice, I have to say. Here we go. I'm just...
Are you sending out a picture of the toilet brush?
Well, I am actually, yeah, just to prove to people that it is completely new and everything.
I can't blow it up anymore because there's something weird going on. But that's
What's that? Is that a Picasso?
No, it's a Klimt. You haven't been listening to what I've been telling you.
Is that flowers?
It's a picture of some flowers.
Oh, well, at least they're real flowers. I mean, they're not cubic or anything like that, are they?
No, they're not.
You know what I mean? I mean, they are supposed to be real flowers, yeah?
Of course they're real flowers.
Not weird-shaped flowers like Picasso would have
no,
painted.
Klimt is a guy who is from Austria originally,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And this is very exciting for all these people in the art world because this is what is thought to be the comeback of sales, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because there was a combined sale on Wednesday evening of 194.7 million.
Yes.
Right? The highest figure for any auction ever staged in London.
I'm sure I've read of paintings that have been sold for much more money than that.
No, but this particular painting, 48 million, is the record of any European single painting being sold. In Europe.
Are you sure?
Yes, absolutely sure.
I honestly thought that a Picasso, we'd actually spoken about it on this show, was sold for 150 million quid.
Yeah, but not in Europe, though.
Are you sure?
No, not in Europe.
Okay.
This was.
I'll take your word for it.
This particular Klimt was sold to an anonymous telephone bidder for 42.5 million before commission, right?
Yeah.
So the commission is over £5 million.
Yeah, who gets that?
It's presumably the
auction house. Yes.
This was a record for a Klimt landscape.
Yes.
And is one of the most expensive artworks ever sold in this part of the world.
Well, that's right, yeah.
Which is amazing, right?
Yeah, well, it's very amazing, I suppose.
And they also sold a Modigliani the same night
yes.
For about 16 million. 3 Picassos made 13.6 million.
Oh, this is all fascinating stuff.
And 8 million. Well, no, because you were telling me some time ago that you thought that Picasso was a con man.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
The art world does not agree with you.
Yeah, well, the art world could get fooled so easily by people who, if somebody comes along and says this is art, no, I can't believe it. Yes, it is. What is it? It's a pile of bricks.
Well,
yeah. Well, I say a pile of bricks on a building site.
Let me tell you about
these
Klimt.
have been put together by an artist.
Well, let me tell you about Klimt.
It's worth £5 million.
Klimt had a painting bought by Oprah Winfrey, who reportedly sold one in a private deal to a Chinese buyer last year for $150 million.
Yeah, what, the same guy?
And this is somebody you haven't heard of, so I think you're...
Is he still alive?
No, of course not. Your qualification...
What do you mean, of course not?
Well, of course not. He's
not
still alive.
When was he alive? When was he painting these things?
Well, he was painting these things back in about the early part of the 20th century.
OK. What do you think of Edward Munch's pictures?
I'm not a big fan. The Scream is the one everybody knows.
Yeah.
And it's quite affecting.
I think he's brilliant. Do you know he did that because he felt exasperated one day?
Yeah.
And he screamed himself and then painted a self-portrait of him screaming.
Yeah, and
quite amazing.
An awful lot of people sort of resonate with that. And an awful lot of people. In fact, I told you this at Christmas.
Yes.
I bought my daughter an inflatable version of it, so that she could put it up in her apartment.
Oh, really?
For when she was feeling sort of... Because they're quite clever. They've made it... you know those things that you used to get, you put water in the bottom of them, you punch them, and they come back up?
Wibbly-wobbly man.
It's something like that, I used to get them in Italy when I was on holiday there. Baby Galbani used to make them, right? Okay. So what this thing is it sits in your house.
Yes.
And it's an upright version.
Yes.
And it's inflatable, and you can punch it. And it bounces back. So
with the Scream on its face.
Yeah.
That's
well, no, it's the whole painting.
I see, yeah.
As an inflatable
to get rid
version.
of your frustrations.
Well, it can help.
Right, there's a note here. It says, MG, you thought 3 hours of Porky was bad. Just imagine spending 4 hours in Ken Dodd's company.
Yeah.
And Porky singing sounds more favourable than even Ken Dodd.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, dear me, that's a horrible thing to say.
Alex says this: why does every story Porky comes out with consist of him meeting the person? Porky is the biggest name dropper I know.
No, I'm not.
It's true.
No, I'm not. I just like to mention to people, how varied and interesting my life has been.
And here's one from Bassard, who says, Colonel Sanders is not from Kentucky.
No, he's not, no.
So why is it called Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Well, because I think he thought that fitted better than Mississippi Fried Chicken, which is where he came from.
Yeah, it sounds better.
Yeah,
That's
Bluegrass,
true.
Kentucky.
Here's one from Mark, who says, Everton are losing Gareth Barry and Ronald Koeman in the summer.
I can't see the relevance of
Mark
somebody
from
sending us
Workshop.
a note like that. We all know Gareth Barry's probably going because he's, of an age now, great servant to the club, but... people can taunt me as much as they want about Ronald Koeman going in the summer. Yeah. I'm telling you now, he's going nowhere.
And Ted says this, why is Porky not supporting Evertonian Tony Bellew? He's a disgrace.
No, I'm not a disgrace at all. Tony Bellew is a great sportsman and a great competitor, a really great Everton fan. He wears Everton shorts and sweatshirts and tops when he's training, and I'm very supportive of him.
Are you?
Very supportive.
So you're supporting
indeed.
him in the fight tomorrow night?
I'm supporting him. I'm not sure if he's going to win, but he certainly has my support because, he has the same devotion to things in life that I have, namely Everton Football Club.
Well,
Good on him.
We may talk about that coming up a little bit later on, because coming up next,
yes,
it is time for the Porky Quiz.
Indeed.
And we'd have to bring in the auditors, not from PricewaterhouseCoopers, I have to say.
Definitely not.
This is Talk Sport.
Yeah.
Don't phone your mother. Phone Talk Sport.
Football on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Atletico Radio.
Talk Sport.
Oh, yeah, baby. Like a fool, I went and stayed too long. I'm wondering if your love's still strong. Ooh, baby. Here I am, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. Then that time I went and
We are filming live on Facebook, of course. If you have not signed up to Facebook yet, we will put a link out there on Twitter for you as well. Dave Levine has just come in with a box, which is Trivial Pursuit Master Edition. It says here, reveal your inner genius, age 16 plus.
Yeah, talking about me there, the inner genius
The
bit.
inner genius. Now, as you can see, it is a completely sealed box.
Yes.
It has not been tampered with. Would you like to examine the box to ensure that it hasn't been tampered with?
Yes, please. I would.
Please have a look.
Okay.
It's covered in cellophane. You can clearly see that nobody has touched it at any stage, right? I'm going to now take a pair of scissors to open it up.
Well, you need scissors?
Well, yeah,
Just rip the cellophane off. It's quicker.
Well, no, it's quicker if I use scissors. And I'm now opening it, right? And up to the point of no return here.
Yeah.
And the plan is, well, the last time we used a game of Trivial Pursuit, which is an older game, we basically took the cards out. We're not going to roll a dice or anything like that.
No. We'll do. I think
there's
5 categories. Is there not?
There's usually 6. I think
6 categories. We'll do 2 from each category.
We'll do
Okay.
2 from each category. That's 12 questions.
12 questions.
You sure you don't want to do just
Make
5?
some very strange noises there.
Well, that's the box opened, right?
Okay.
Welcome to Trivial Pursuit Master Edition.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're not going to bother with the board. We are going to bother with the cards. Okay. Now, would you like to see that these cards are also all sealed? Right. They're all sealed. I don't know why there's 2 boxes of cards.
Okay. Well, there's 2 players usually, isn't there?
Oh, okay. Is that why?
I don't know.
All right, okay. Well, we'll get rid of that.
Yeah.
Right, over there. We've got these boxes of cards here.
Okay, let's get on with it. Let's get on with
it.
it.
I'm going to open them. You're the one that wanted to have it all sealed before we got it, right?
Okay.
Calm down.
Yeah.
Right, now, there are indeed, as you say, 6 categories, okay?
Yeah.
So, let's see. When we open this, it will be, there are different colours, right?
Yes.
Why don't we do it by colour?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There is blue.
Yeah.
There is magenta.
Yeah.
There is yellow.
Yeah.
There is red.
Yeah.
There is green.
Yeah.
And there is orange.
Right.
Okay, so why don't you straight off the bat?
Yeah, but what do they represent?
Well, I'm not able to tell you that.
Yes, of course you are. You know, it's either geography and history.
No, you're doing it colour-coded.
All right.
They're colours, right?
All right. Blue, magenta.
Yeah, blue, magenta, red, yellow, green, and orange.
Red, yellow.
So I'm just going to pick these. I'm going to put these cards here. You can see me shuffling them.
Okay.
Right? Just like that.
I don't think you should shuffle them.
You
don't think you should be shuffling them? No, I don't.
All right, well, I'll not shuffle them.
I
can easily unshuffle them.
Yeah.
So what you would like me to do is just pick the first one off the top.
Exactly.
All right.
Let's go with it.
Okay, well, tell me what colour you want first.
Right, I'm going to start with my favourite colour, blue.
Favourite colour, blue.
Let's get on with it.
Blue question is this. What is El Gordo? The fat one, one of the biggest of its kind in the world.
El Gordo.
El Gordo.
El Gordo. El Gordo, the fat one, one of the biggest in the world.
Yes, one of the biggest in the world. What is it?
That is a... yes, I know. It's a bomb invented by the Allies at the end of the Second World War.
El Gordo.
Yeah, we had the big one and the small one. El Gordo was the big one.
Incorrect.
No!
Stupid.
No.
It's a lottery in Spain.
A lottery?
Yes.
Ah.
All right, next colour, please.
Okay. Next colour, yellow.
Yellow?
Yeah.
Okay, next colour, yellow. Che Guevara was killed in 1967 while attempting to lead a revolution in which country?
Che Guevara, who helped liberate or incarcerate Cuba with Fidel Castro, then went off and decided he was going to start a revolution in another country, but he bit off more than he could chew.
Which country?
Bolivia.
Correct.
Hooray!
Easy.
Easy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's 1 out of 2.
Yeah.
Next colour, please.
Next colour, magenta, please.
Magenta.
Yes.
Who succeeded Richard Ingrams as editor of Private Eye in 1986?
In 1986, Richard Ingram stood down. He founded Private Eye. It was taken over by a man who has an incredibly ugly face, in my opinion, who once said he was a banana. His name is Ian Hislop.
Correct.
Hooray!
Easy.
Oh, look at this. When the questions are absolutely straightforward.
Well, you've got 2 out of 3 so far.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm not incorrect in saying, you've had 1 magenta.
Yeah, one
blue and
one yellow.
1 yellow.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your next colour?
Next colour is going to be orange.
Your next colour is going to be orange.
Yes.
Who took on the hero, later called Mario, in the first game to feature the character in 1981?
Who took on the... So, Mario, is this Bob the Builder stuff, is it?
Something like that, yeah.
Who took on Mario?
Yes.
See, I've never played those computer games, so I'm at a disadvantage here.
Oh, well.
So what I'm going to
do very well because these are not gerrymandered questions. So
I'm going to draw my extensive intelligence. Who took on Mario? Is that it?
That's right.
So Mario, I thought Mario was a hero. I don't think you took Mario on. I thought Mario conquered people.
I can't help you.
Right, the person who took on Mario in a computer game, in what year was it?
In 1981.
1981 would have been... Oh, I'll tell you what. It could have been... In fact, I reckon it was...
Go on.
I think it was...
I'll have to hurry you because we're running out of time.
Yeah. I think it was Daredevil Dan.
Incorrect.
No.
Don't be so stupid.
It was, in fact, Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong.
All right, next colour.
Donkey Kong. We'll go for green, please.
Go for green, OK. Green question. What name is given to the number sequence that begins 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21?
What?
What name is given to the number sequence that begins 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21?
Yeah. Well, they're all numbers that can't be split up, so they are indivisible numbers. Thinking aloud.
You've got to give me an answer quickly, please.
Think aloud. Yeah, okay. I would say they are binary.
Incorrect.
No.
Don't be so stupid.
No. They are Fibonacci sequence,
They're
which
what?
occurs frequently in the natural world. The Fibonacci sequence, very well known.
Fibonacci? What are you on about?
Time for another question, please.
Red.
Question red. Okay.
My least favourite colour, by the way.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, let's see how well you do.
Yeah.
Let's see. Question red. What is the name of the secret language used by the teenagers in the 1970s film A Clockwork Orange?
Oh, blimey. Clockwork Orange, Malcolm McDowell.
I think that'd be an orange question, really, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it'd be an orange question.
But it's red.
Great film, that, by the way. They all drank milk, didn't they? Walked around in bowler hats and went around knocking on doors and sexually assaulting housewives.
Yeah, you don't need to bring that into
Terrible.
the quiz. Thank you.
Right, I believe it to have been...
you have to hurry you.
Something in the back of my head says Quarky, but it wasn't Quarky. I think they adopted that international language made after the Second War, Esperanto.
Incorrect.
No!
Don't be so stupid.
It was, in fact, Nadsat, created by the writer Anthony Burgess. Now, that was a red question, so you've now taken all 6 colours. You want to go back to blue?
We'll go back to blue.
So I'm going to keep it in the same sequence.
Same
I want to make sure that you know the answer to all of that, OK?
Yeah.
The River Spree runs through the centre of which European city?
The River Spree.
Spree.
River Spree.
Yes.
Spree. Now, I've been to most European cities of any consequence.
Have you?
I've never come across the River Spree, so it must be some bum city somewhere, which isn't worth going to.
I couldn't possibly comment.
So I'm going to say it's probably, let me see, the River Spree, I reckon, runs through Florence.
Incorrect.
No!
Don't be so stupid.
It actually runs through Berlin.
Berlin,
yes.
I've been to Berlin. I've never seen the River Spree. Right, we've got to go to yellow.
Yellow now. Which historical figure has been portrayed on film by Ingrid Bergman, Gina Seberg and Mila Jovovich?
Mila Jovovich.
Yeah.
What historical person?
Which historical figure, yeah.
Ingrid Bergman.
Yeah. Gene Seberg and Mila Jovovich.
I know this. I'm sure I know this. I would say the answer to that, without a shadow of a doubt, is Joan of Arc.
Correct.
Hooray!
Easy.
Yes.
Okay, we're now on to magenta.
Right, magenta, yeah.
Which ancient Greek philosopher is associated with the theory of forms?
Forms?
Yeah.
What sort of forms?
I presume the ones you fill in for your taxes? I have no idea.
No,
I'm just asking the questions.
It means shapes, forms.
Shapes?
Yeah, what are we talking about? Who was he? Greek?
Which ancient Greek philosopher is associated with the theory of forms?
Yeah, I know this one.
Go on.
Archimedes.
Incorrect.
No!
Don't be so stupid.
It is, in fact, Plato.
Plato.
Which is the only other one you've ever heard of, right?
Well, he's a plate.
Planko. Next question would be an orange question.
Orange.
Okay, now let me see what I've got here for orange. In which country was the second season of cricket's Indian Premier League held in 2009?
Ooh. Now, are we talking new names or old names?
What?
Because some of the Indian cities have been renamed.
Well, I would go with the new ones if I were you.
Okay, so 2009.
2009.
I'm thinking aloud here.
Yeah.
Now, it could be Delhi. Thinking aloud, just thinking aloud. Could be Calcutta.
I said the new names.
Hang on. Excuse me. I convert names in my head. Could be Delhi, could be Calcutta.
Yeah.
Could be... where was that black hole? Oh, that was no, that was Calcutta.
You need to hurry up.
Okay,
we're going 12 questions.
Okay,
here.
I'm going for Delhi.
Incorrect.
No,
Don't be so stupid.
One, that's not the new name for it, and also the question was which country, and the answer is South Africa. So you got that wrong completely.
I thought you said which city.
I said which country. Very
Hang
clearly.
on. When I was going on Delhi and Calcutta, why didn't you say
problem.
we didn't mean cities?
That's not my problem.
Well, you mispronounced the question.
Not my problem.
You blinking oaf.
Next question is a green one, right?
Yes.
Let's see. What is diphenhydramine hydrochloride, better known as?
Diphen what?
Diphenhydramine hydrochloride, better known as.
Well, I'm thinking aloud here.
Are you?
It's not LSD, because LSD is lysergic acid diethylamide.
How are you such an expert in acid?
Don't know, just
You haven't taken it?
No, I've never have, no.
You sure you haven't taken any tonight?
No, I haven't taken any tonight, no. So I would say...
Yeah, go on.
I would say it is... I would say that is another name for a mind-bending drug. A mind-bending drug.
I'll have to hurry you.
And I would say it is, in fact, LSD.
Incorrect.
No!
Don't be so stupid.
It's, in fact, Benadryl, which sounds a bit like Benylin. I'm surprised you didn't know that one.
No.
Now, the final question is, of course, a red one.
It's not my favourite colour.
It's not your favourite colour. Let's see. Red. Which disco classic provided the bass line and backing for the first mainstream hip-hop hit, Rapper's Delight, in October 1979?
What? The hip-hop hit Rapper's Delight?
Yes.
And what's the question?
What disco classic provided the bass line and backing for the first mainstream hip-hop hit, Rapper's Delight, in October 1979?
Okay, I think I know this one.
Yeah, go on.
1979.
Yeah.
1979.
Obviously, I'm looking for the name of a song and an artist here.
Okay, I think the song was D-I-S-C-O. Thinking aloud. I'm just thinking aloud. Hang on.
I have to hurry you.
I said D-I-S-C-O. She is delightful. I'm going for half a point here.
Yeah.
Disco, but don't know the name of the group.
Disco, don't know the name of the group. Incorrect.
No!
It is, in
That
fact,
was so stupid.
Good Times by a band called Chic, who, of course, you might remember.
Well, Chic was Neil Richards.
Would you like to hear it? Neil Richards?
No, was it Nile? Nile Rodgers.
Neil Richards.
Nile Rodgers.
Have you got it? Let's have a listen.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I know that record.
Everybody knows it.
Yeah,
This is Rapper's Delight.
That was a trick question.
Do you know how many you've got out of 12?
3.
That's 3 out of 12.
Yeah.
That's less than 3 out of 10.
No, but you picked the
That's
most difficult
horrendous.
questions.
No, I didn't.
You did.
I did it by colours.
There's a screen here. I can't see which cards. How many cards you've got?
I only picked the colours that you asked.
Yeah, but you've got so many cards.
No, that's not true.
You could look at all the cards
No,
and choose the most
absolutely
difficult
not.
question of the colour
I took
from different
I
cards.
took each card. Right?
No, I don't believe you.
Well, the next time we do it, if you wish, I offered you the opportunity to do this. You told me to get on with it.
Yeah.
If you want, you just give me 12 cards. That's all you do.
No.
If you want to do that.
No.
You know what I mean? 3 out of 12 is absolutely pathetic.
No, it's not.
So this proves once and for all that even when you insist on doing something in a sealed box with a sealed set of cards with specific questions that you ask for, you still only get 3 out of 12, which out of 10 is how many?
It's 25%.
25%.
That's a pass.
Yeah, so that's 2.5 out of 10.
No.
2.5 out of 10.
No.
That's your score. No. You complete and utter plank. This is Talk Sport.
I can tell you now, I would have cheated and I would have looked at them and not told you.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Today you and I are not the same. You say you like the sun, I like the rain. So before we go, do it all again. You better catch your own train. You better catch your own train.
Now, lately, what we've been doing on this show is filming on Facebook Live and on Periscope, all sorts of different things. Yesterday, we did just a segment of the show. Tonight, we did the Porky Quiz.
Indeed.
And we got loads, 150 comments, actually, on the Facebook Live page. So thank you very much for that. And if you haven't been able to watch it live, of course, what you can do is go back to Facebook and watch it subsequently, because it's been recorded. But lots and lots of people have got many things to say. In fact, funnily enough, loads of people, while the quiz was going on, were actually sending you the answers on Facebook Live.
Really?
Luckily, you can't see those.
No, I can't.
Otherwise, of course,
but thanks anyway for your support.
You would
folks.
have got more than 2.5 out of 10.
I appreciate you trying to balance up against the gerrymandering of Low-Face.
Well, I don't see how you can tell me I'm gerrymandering, because there's no way. Here's one from Andy, who says, don't shuffle them, like that's going to make any difference.
Yeah, well, it might,
Leon says, Porky's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Great show, boys. Have a nice break.
Yes.
John says, I can't watch, but I'm listening live from the Great Ocean Road. Porky is as useless
Where's
as
the
always.
Great Ocean Road?
The Great Ocean Road is either in Australia.
I think it's Australia.
It looks like Australia, I think, because it looks like a very nice beach there.
Yeah, because there's another lovely one from somebody who's listening live from Broome in Western Australia.
Ah, yes.
And I've been there.
Have you?
I've been to that very beach.
Right.
It's beautiful. It's near Exeter and a place called Monkey Mere.
Monkey Mere?
Yeah, that's right.
It's got monkeys in it?
No, it's just called Monkey Mere because that's the habitat. But it's in fact one of the world's great swimming with the dolphins resorts.
Oh, right, okay.
You're not allowed to put suntan oil on your body and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
That must be a bit difficult because it's so hot there.
Yeah, well, you're not allowed to because if you do, it comes off in the water.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Steve says this, I can actually rap all 14 minutes of that Rapper's Delight.
Can you really?
Yeah, which maybe we'll get him on one time to do that.
Yeah.
Duncan says, what's the excuse tonight then, Porky? You plank? Absolutely shocking.
No, it wasn't shocking at all. It was...
Well, 3 out of 12 is not great, is it?
Yeah, but I mean, you know...
You can't blame me. I was just taking the coloured questions that you were asking for and reading them out.
I was prepared to face a question about anything, anywhere in the world, and I did.
Yes.
And it's face on.
An absolute embarrassment in the quiz by Porky, says he. No excuses now.
No. One here from Craig who says, you were talking earlier to Sandra, your correspondent in Australia. Yeah. The spider was horrible, hairy, and had really short legs, and women fear it crawling all over them. Bit like Porky on the pull. That's very harsh, Craig, but I'll read it out anyway.
Yeah, but that's very good of you to read it out.
Yes.
But lots of people enjoying watching it as well as listening to it, I must say. So something like 8,000 people reached by that.
Yes, good.
Just overnight. So there'll be loads more over the course of the next 24 hours.
Good.
Which you can look at, of course, as well.
Yes.
Now, I do want to ask you about the whole Tony Bellew, David Hay scenario, because a lot of people are asking us to give our verdict on what David Hay has been saying, and the fact that he is being rather objectionable and threatening, and talking in a way which would have to be described as rather unsportsmanlike.
Well,
you know,
I don't.
I mean, is it just hype? A lot of people are getting upset about it. I'm not particularly bothered by it.
I'm not bothered
by it. I think it's a bit of an idiot. The thing that I find quite extraordinary.
I think it's very good.
David Hay was on, I think it was Jim White's show yesterday.
Yes,
talking about how I've always been a gladiator. I think I was a gladiator in a past life.
Yeah.
When I was playing rugby, I used to want to break people's spine.
Yes, that's right.
Now I'm going into the ring with Tony Bellew, who's disrespected me. I'm going to make him unconscious at the end of the. This is a guy who complained that he lost a fight because of a broken toe.
Yes.
Who's pulled out of a couple of fights.
Well,
and who does not precisely give the image of a man who is in fact Mike Tyson-like, who was the real gladiator, because Tyson actually did talk about things like that, and he actually did them. I remember interviewing Tyson when he talked about trying to punch somebody's nose
into their face,
into their brain.
That's right, yeah.
And he did it, whereas David Hay is a kind of a playtime gladiator, isn't he?
Yes. Once David Hay said, when I played rugby, I wanted to break people's spines. The minute he said that, then I knew it was showbiz.
Yeah.
Because that's such a ridiculous thing to say.
Well, it is, yeah.
Because you wouldn't go around under any circumstances trying to break somebody's spine.
Yeah.
What he meant was I was a hard tackler. So I...
Yeah, but was he? We don't even know if he was any good at
I've no
rugby.
idea. He was trying to portray himself as a hard tackler. So the minute he said that, I thought, this is just showbiz.
Yeah.
So when he's going on about, want to do the boys some damage. Also, I have spoken to people who follow boxing as a profession who told me that up to a few months ago, publicly, David Hay and Bellew got on very well.
Right.
Because they were fighting at the same sort of weight when they started their careers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Both varied when going up and down and all that kind of stuff. And that they were similarly, fueled and fired with the ambition to get on. They both did.
Yes.
So they actually quite like each other.
Yeah.
So, look, you have to accept that there's a lot of this in the world of boxing. And also, I'm not totally saying it's all a sham, because I do believe that if you're going to go into a ring and fight another man, you have to work yourself up into a frenzy.
To some extent.
To make sure that the only thing you see in front of you is a victim, not a guy you used to know or something like that.
Sure.
So I accept all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably a bit too much is being made of it, but it doesn't have to be quite so vitriolic and graphic about what he's going to do.
I think we've just summed it up. Well, nobody's taking it absolutely seriously, are they?
Yes.
And there's always, in boxing, always been the element of showbiz. When we see two guys grappling with each other at the weigh-in or at a press conference, we all know it's part of what you would expect in the build-up of a fight.
Yes, I suppose so.
Yes.
Porky gets a question on his favourite disco period, then blows it, says Steve. Here's one from Ben, who tells us that the Great Ocean Road is between Adelaide and Melbourne, where the 12 Apostles is. Beautiful part of the world.
Oh, brilliant. Well done. Thank
and
you.
He also says, good effort, Porky. Hilarious quiz. Love the 25% is a pass quote.
Yeah, it is.
Have a good weekend, chat.
It is. Yeah, well, we certainly will. Yes.
And William says, in your defence, Porky, some of those questions were very questionable, to say the least.
Thank you.
Harder than Mastermind.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, but you're the one that asked for them, so, I mean, I have no where to go here. I can't ask the independent quizmasters like I normally instruct them to give a quiz on a particular subject, which they then do, because these are all predetermined questions.
Okay. Now, I'm looking at some updated odds on who's going to be the next manager of Barcelona, okay?
Yes.
The favourite, without shadow of a doubt, is Jorge Sampaoli.
Oh, from Sevilla.
Yeah. Admired by fellow Argentinian Lionel Messi, who's yet to sign a new contract, and will advise on who is brought in. At €1.5 million, getting him out of Sevilla deal will be a relatively cheap task.
That's pretty small potatoes, isn't it?
Yeah, 1.5.
For modern day football,
it's about £1 million, isn't it?
Yeah.
Second favourite, moved up to second favourite, Ronald Koeman. And they say,
well.
Yeah, and they say his odds are 4 to 1 his second favourite.
Yeah.
It says the romantic choice, having helped secure the club's first European Cup in 1992 as a player. Some say he's too big a personality, while others believe he'd take the club back to style of the Johan Cruyff era. The problem
that's
is,
what I've been telling you, isn't it?
The problem is is that he's in a £5 million a year contract with Everton, which has been signed for 4 years, I believe. The break clause may be up to £10 million. So whether or not that will...
Well, Barcelona famously don't have a great deal of money, do they? I mean, because my understanding is that in Spain, obviously, they don't get as much money as the English clubs get from the Premier League for the televising of their sport.
Actually, they do, because they share most of the TV rights between them.
But they've watered it down a bit now.
Yeah, they've watered it down a bit.
Of course, they have to have... But they have to pay massive salaries to people like Suarez and Messi and Neymar and everybody else.
Yeah.
So they're not imbued with loads and loads of money, is my understanding. So maybe they can't afford Koeman.
Do you know who the third favourite is here?
Is it not Arsene Wenger?
No, it's Jurgen Klopp.
Is it?
Yeah, Jurgen Klopp, 4 to 1. Supporters would love it. He was third behind Jorge Sampaoli and Ernesto Valverde on most fan polls yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
But he's not on the radar. We're difficult to prize from Anfield in terms of those who are making the appointment. Fans say that Jurgen Klopp would be a great appointment.
Yeah, well, I mean, interesting times, I would say.
Yeah.
But Klopp has no connection with Barcelona at all, does he? And as we said, they normally like him to have some connection. But, that's going to be a story that runs and runs. And you will have to make a massive apology to me if it turns out that it's Koeman.
It's not going to be Koeman.
Well, you keep saying that.
It's not going to be Koeman.
But you just told me he's been installed as second favourite.
Yeah, but that's on a fans forum and looking at a range of bookkeepers' odds.
Yes, okay. Well, thank you very much indeed. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out later. We're back on the warm-up tomorrow from 11 p.m. a.m. I should say. This is Talk Sport.
Don't forget to come back tomorrow for another sparkling, as fizzy as a bottle of champagne podcast from the two mics. This is from somebody who calls themselves Kanye West, although I don't think it's the Kanye West, is it? I went to the surgery to get a variation on my prescription.
Variation?
Trying to cut down on the tablets.
Yeah,
okay?
good idea.
So anyway, I park in a bay there, right?
Well, outside the doctor's?
Near to the doctor's.
Has the doctor got a car park?
Well, you're not allowed to use it unless you're like a doctor, if you see what I mean. You know what I mean?
I'm sure you can put a white coat on and pretend you're one, just to get a parking spot.
I'll just ignore that. Another piece of stupidity.
You did it to interview Peter Sellers?
Well, I did.
I want you to tell that story.
No, I won't tell the story because he was dead, but I didn't realise. He didn't look dead.
No.
No, he didn't.
How can you not look dead?
Well, he had like all sorts of pipes and masks and things, so it was difficult to tell.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
What? That is a picture? What's that? What are you laughing at?
That's your present.
Oh,
it's my toilet brush.
Oh, really? Why have you said it's £1.99?
That's what's come for you.
So I have to point that this is not a used toilet brush. It's a new one,
brand
still
new.
wrapped up.
Why would you